Oh boy, cold. It's cold here. I forgot to turn on the damn heater out here in the garage. So I mean the $1 million studio, and I freezing to death. So the first part of this stream is just gonna be me sitting here going back and forth. But it is totally time. Today we have some really fun things to talk about. One of the most favorite operating systems of all time is finally sunset. Coding Wonders actually hit me up. He's like, dude, did you see End of Life for... Well, I'll show you the article on that. We'll have a fun time. I also wanted to make a YouTube video today. It's been... God, what is it over on YouTube? I think it's been since November since my last YouTube video. We gotta do something. And I got to thinking, I always go on some weird Linux rant, and you know, it always sounds like I don't like Linux, but all I do is use Linux, and most people don't even realize it. So today we're gonna go a different method, and I'm gonna just show you like my Linux journey, because as a lifelong Windows user, because I've been on Windows, professional Windows user, literally have more than double digits in as far as Microsoft certifications goes. I got my first MCP back in like 2000 for Windows. I think it was 2000 Server was my very first. No. Windows XP was my very first, and then 2000 Server, and then 2003 SMB Server. Anyways, I'm not gonna list them all. We'd sit here. I could fill up this whole damn room with the alphabet behind my name with credentials, but I don't, because they don't mean anything. They're just a good way to get your foot in the door, and I'm really good at taking tests. But so I kind of want to go over the Linux journey in coming as a power user into Windows, and kind of talk about all the different roadblocks I ran into and how I overcame them. Because now it seems like just yesterday I switched to Linux, to be honest. But that was 8 years ago, almost a decade now. Oh man. God, look at all this gray hair. Look at all that gray hair. God bless it. If you go back, don't go back in my channel and look at the older videos. You're gonna be like, damn, Titus, you aged. Maybe it's Linux fault. Anyways, yeah, it's 60 degrees here in Texas. I mean, that's like, if for you European people, you know, that aren't using freedom units, I mean, we're talking 17 Celsius or about there. It was like 30 something this morning. I mean, it was almost 0 degrees here Celsius, which, ugh. Why do people live in cold environments? Weird people. Give me 100 degrees or you know, 30, 40 Celsius any day of the week over freezing. Anyways, there's a reason why I live down south, and honestly, I would migrate to Mexico or maybe even Grand Cayman. That would be life if I ever had that much money, but probably never gonna happen. Anyways, I digress. It's already off to a weird start, and we're also going to look at MicroWin. We got to get the update done for that, and the executable revamp. That executable, I gotta tell you, for people that have actually contributed to the Windows utility over the years, you know, God, it's kind of wild to see that evolution. We might even go into that, because a lot of people don't realize what's gone on behind the scenes to people that have contributed, and how that executable has changed over the years. And it's about to have a massive change coming up, but one that people will be like, damn, this is awesome. So I can't wait for that too. Negative 14 Celsius? Is that real? Oh, no. I would just die. It was just like, no, that's I prefer cold. No. Weird people. You know, I don't mind the mountain, but I kind of like it during the summertime. When it's like 100 here, going to like Colorado, that's the stuff to do. And then you can just sit by the river and be like, oh, that's a nice 60, 70. That's true. That's true. I do like that. I live in Pirate, Kansas, man. You know, I was born in Kansas. I'm sorry, but I got out of there as soon as I could. Nobody lives in Kansas, and by choice. Facts. Anyways, let's get into it today. Oh man. Oh geez, where? All right, here we go. Oh, love lint mint XFC. You know, XFCE hasn't changed very much over the years. Is that how winter is in Texas? 17C. That's like Rio de Janeiro. Yeah. It gets colder. It depends on the day. Like here in Dallas, we do see some freezing weather, usually like once or twice a year, and then it kind of goes away. I kind of like that because it reminds you how much you hate the cold. And you're like, okay, I'm ready for it to get warm again. So then you can't bitch as much whenever it does get hot. First mic is better. I know, low jack. Should I? God, I constantly am going back and forth with this. Should I just keep the same microphone going? Yeah. I agree, though. That first mic does sound better. Yeah. This is the old Shure SM7B. And, I always struggle with the audio portion. I've been doing this for 8 years. And even on my 8th year, I'm still sitting here with audio going, damn, there's something I could do with the audio. My video I haven't touched in 5+ years probably. And my audio, it's like every couple months, I'm like, I might change my mic again. Oh, let's do this. Yeah. It's a skill issue. It's a skill issue. It's a great mic. I have good equipment. So I don't need different equipment, that's for sure. It's definitely a skill issue. My wife's like, you sound fine, it's all in your head. Someone in chat noticed. They even commented. Oh no, they don't know the amount of damage they did with that one comment. I'm gonna be sitting here second guessing myself for the rest of the entire stream. Anyways, let's get going, shall we? All right, news of the day. Hasta la vista. Microsoft finally ends extended updates for an ancient version. Okay. Ancient needs to be replaced. I mean, this is normal with registry. They usually get stuff wrong. But for the best version of Windows ever created is what they meant to say here. So a little mistypo in the title here. But support is finally ended for Windows Server 2008 R2. See, they don't even know the difference between 2000 and R2. By the way, there's a massive difference between R2 and just standard 2008. 2008 was actually based off of Vista. 2008 R2 was based off of Windows 7's kernel. So a massive difference between the two. So you can't just lump them all into one, but this person's probably young. They don't know any better. So anyways, they quietly maintain support for this OS, nearly 18 years old. 2008 R2, again, they missed the R2. Why do I even bother with any of the news articles? There's a reason why I don't do this type of thing and like release a snippet, because I'm just gonna sit here going, this news article sucks. I gotta write something better. But anyways, yeah, 2000 R2 is amazing. They had like remote app, which was great. Like, you guys know Citrix, right? Well, remote app was like Citrix, but free for any Windows 2008 R2. So you could literally remote into a server, but instead of launching a whole RDP instance or a whole remote desktop instance, you could launch one application and it would stream that application to your device back in 2008. Literally 18 years ago. What has happened since then? Has it gotten better? No, everything's just gotten worse. But that's Microsoft for you. Anyways, January 13th marked another milestone for legacy systems and its support. Codename Longhorn Server expired for anybody that bought the premium assurance. Now, this end of support, the EOL on Windows 2008 R2, apparently this person doesn't know the difference. R2's big difference, they should have added that. but that actually ended in 2020. Actually, Windows Server 2008 EOL, I think, was 2016. So just why it matters. It's also yeah. So they had this. I thought it did end in 2023, but apparently they extended all the way to 2026. So I thought this was just an interesting article. I appreciate Code and Wonders bringing it to my attention, but it was the best. I think so. Everything went downhill after Windows Server 2008 R2 came out. That one I just absolutely adored from an operating perspective. People like, Windows 7 was the best. No. Sit down there, young flower child. Let me tell you about the wonders of Windows Server 2008 R2. It was amazing. Such a great thing. So anyways, yes. What else we got here? No worries about support. We're still using Windows Server 2000. Hey, I think someone sent me a message the other day. India is still using like Windows XP on their ATMs out there, and I was like, well, that's not a security flaw. Oh man. Anyways. Yeah, back when you got everything. Well, you didn't get it for free. You still had to buy the one license, and then you got it in perpetuity. Now everything's freaking software as a service. Pay for it every single time they do an update, every single month until you die. And that's just the model. I'm not salty about it at all. And honestly, as a software maker now, I refuse to do that. I am going to be the final software guy that still maintains legacy, buy once, get it forever. Even Windows Utility, like the old executable, used to be $5, and essentially it was just a wrapped PowerShell command for the most part, back when I first launched it. And it was more for people just wanting to support the project. Now, like Jay's 2 Cents and other people this past year covered it and was like, well, you can use it offline. I was like, well, you know, that's not necessarily true, but I'm not going to actually correct him because a lot more people are contributing. So I'm just going to code that up real fast and make sure that actually is true. So instead of actually correcting the many people that said it was offline, I was just like, I am going to silently do an update in the background of this and submit an offline and make that actually true. So you can thank the other influencers that covered Windows Utility for that functionality, because when they actually said it, they kind of lied, but I didn't want to actually correct them because they really helped me. So I was just like, that should be a feature. Well, we're just going to make it a feature. Yeah, Jay's 2 Cents is like, this should have an offline capability. We're just gonna say it's offline. Titus will make it happen. I think that's what ended up happening. It was just an unspoken agreement. So yeah, it was pretty funny. But I appreciate him covering and everything like that. Can you please help me max my PC performance for free? I'm using Atlas OS and an older version of your Windows utility. I haven't covered Atlas in forever, so I don't know anything about what their current configuration is. Right now, my recommendation is just to use a stock Windows, and if you want to use MicroWin, if you don't want to configure it at all, I highly recommend MicroWin instead of like an Atlas setup. Or if you don't want to use anything made by me, you could use an NT Lite. That's been out for 20 plus years, an amazing piece of software to make your ISO, but it's pretty in-depth, advanced. And if you want a third option, actually, the one I would recommend, believe it or not, is one I covered on my channel, and I covered it in negative light, but it was made by NT Dev, because at the time I covered it, I was like, dude, this is shady. You're distributing an ISO that's modified Windows through archive.org, which I was like, you should just never do that. That got a lot of views, and after that, I think it was several months after that, he changed it. Now there's an NT or Tiny 11 builder from NT Dev that will make the ISO for you using official Microsoft tooling, no extra third-party tools. and it's open source, and it makes the ISO for you. So Tiny11 Builder would be my recommendation for a third option. But as far as Atlas, I don't plan on supporting anything like that, especially with third-party tooling. I think everything should be directly handled with what tools Microsoft provides. And if you're going to use Windows, that's just my thought process. Today, we will do an update on MicroWin. Coding Wonders has been working hard. We've been going back and forth, making sure that's a very efficient update. We just have to do our final tests today, and we should be able to merge that in, and we should be good. Big fan of NT Lite. Been using it until I swapped to CashEOS. Kaz, it warms my heart anytime I see someone switch to Linux. I think that's amazing. What's the best use of Windows Server for personal use? These days, I don't really use Windows Server much at all anymore, so I don't think there is any good use for personal anymore. I think back in the day, probably the last good version of Windows Server, probably 2016 was the last one I really worked on and had some personal use for. But any version after 2016, I'm kind of like, more of the same, more bloat, more just ugh. And it's not worth it. So I still recommend my version of Windows today that I'd recommend that is stock from Microsoft would be probably Windows 2022 LTSC IoT Enterprise Edition would be the one I'd recommend if you're gonna have to go with one. And if you're like, what the F did he just say? Then probably just stick to Windows 11 Pro and you'll be fine. And then just use Windows Utility. It gets you most of the way there.
Yeah, well,
both
the dude abides.
Incorrect answers. Fat bastard. Welcome back, good sir. Tier 3, you Chad. You absolute Chad. I love you. That is great. Plan on testing MicroWin later with WinBoat installed. Nice. I still got to mess around with WinBoat. A lot of people have been holler at me about WinBoat. WinBoat is essentially the modern day remote app from my from what I've looked at, but I haven't actually tested it, so I can't tell you if that's actually true or not. But yeah. Also, if you're ever re-watching these streams, currently running into some copyright issues with old YouTube. Freaking YouTube, man, I tell you. So many problems. It's not like as bad as the music people go through, the music creators on YouTube, but right now I am getting attacked by Latin author. Man, if I ever ran into him in a dark alley and I had a pipe, I'd like to beat the... Anyways, yeah, so he's claiming a bunch of my videos, and all my music comes from Harris Heller from Stream Beats, which is copyright free, and you can use it. So I'm in the midst of appealing. This guy's been a thorn in my side, the Latin author dude that's been copyright claiming. He claims everybody. He's been abusing the copyright system for years on YouTube, and he's not done it to me, but he's done it to thousands of creators, and YouTube just doesn't give a shit because that's YouTube. They're interested in just putting playables, shorts, and other crap that you don't want on your stream, as typical big tech does. Thanks, YouTube. Thanks. Love you. You're great. Frick. Yeah. Anyways, I digress. But yeah, Harris Heller's tried as best as he could to help this along as well. But yeah, it'll get solved. I may spend some money, hire an attorney, and see if I can't find out who this guy is, because I would love to sue him, and I wouldn't mind dropping a couple $1,000s just to make that happen, and then make sure he doesn't ever do this again to other people. But gotta find him first. So we'll see what comes of that. I'll update you guys later on the copyright claims issues. Either way, I'll leave them up. I don't really care. I don't really make that much money on the back end of my videos, so it's not that big a deal for me. It's not something where I'm like, oh, I better take that down or whatever to maximize my $5 and ad revenue I'd get from the video. It doesn't matter to me. But to many of the other creators that do rely on AdSense, it would be just absolutely really damaging to them, because that's where most of the revenue comes from. Anyways. Yeah, Gamers Nexus has done coverage on it. Most of your other major YouTubers, most of the gaming YouTubers have done it. I know John Wolf also ran into some issues. My wife watches him a lot, and he's a great creator as well. He's been on YouTube for 10 plus years, and he constantly runs into stuff, and I'm pretty sure it's the same guy doing the shenanigans behind the scene and claiming stuff that he doesn't own, but you know, it just goes. All right. So I think now we need to make a YouTube video. I know, I still do that. I haven't done it since November. Let's see if I remember how to do this. We do need to set up some stuff. How we use Linux. I feel like let's bullet point this out real fast. Because I think we should do an article just so I know what the heck we got. Let's grab any updates to here. Let's go Hugo. You post 2026. How I use Linux. .markdown. And how I use Linux. Let's go down here. And of course, we're going to do it in NeoVim because we're using Linux today. I like to switch it up a little bit. Over the past 8 years, I have used Linux desktop as my primary daily use PC. Before then, I used Windows 4. Let's just say since the 3.11 release back in the early 90s. All right. So this is kind of like a background of me and how I use Linux. I think that's pretty straightforward. I guess we could say I'm a professional, blah, 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 but really I don't need to toot my horn that much. I really don't care. I think we should be fine there. And we'll put this as... What tag should we add? Probably adoption. Nah, it's a dumb tag. Let's just say... Let's say switch to Linux. I think that's fine. All right, we'll use that as a tag. All right, so I'd say the early days. Let's start with the first year, right? What to expect in the first year? The first year. Now this was well documented. This was well documented on my YouTube channel. I had various distro challenges that lasted anywhere from 7 to 60 days. We did Arch, we did Debian, we did all kinds of different distributions during this time. Let's actually get those links for people just in case they ever want to see them. Let's go videos and playlists, right? We actually have a video on security. Like anytime you're wondering if I probably already done the video. That's like, I've had so many videos. Yeah, 169, nice. Linux tutorial videos, like learning that. I think we have a bunch of like 30-day challenges. Switching to Arch Linux in 30 days. Let's get a shareable link for that. We'll just go. switching to Arch Linux. First 30 days. And what else did we have? This, I think we used Ubuntu to begin with. Yeah, we used Ubuntu. This is kind of funny too. All right, let's get a shareable link for that one too. There was also many other first-time things in there. I think I had a Manjaro one. God, back when people really used Manjaro. I don't know how popular Manjaro is this time. First time, I would say switching to Ubuntu first 30 days was that one. And let's just say switching. We'll just say switching that lasted 30 days. I think it seems like that was the popular thing. Oh, this was a 10-day challenge. Let's just say 10 to 30 days. Perfect. First 10 days. All right. And I actually went back through and kind of cut out all the bad, like, when I first started YouTube, I had a tendency of over-explaining at the very beginning of a video, and then I'd go ahead and get into the content. So I actually went back through some of my first iterations that were still being watched, and I went ahead and cut out usually anywhere between, I actually had one video, I think I cut out 6 minutes because I was like, that was so much just get to the point, Chris. And I was like yelling at my old self, and I was just, all right, let's cut that out. So that's what I did. Love from Sri Lanka. Oh man, all right. You yapping? Yeah, it's shocking. Me yap for 6 minutes, not say anything? No way. That doesn't sound like me at all. Various issues that were let's just too long didn't watch of like the several hours of videos that I just linked. The too all didn't watch of all those challenges and the problems I had. One, too many distros when I should have focused on what features I liked. The other thing that I think I had was trying to use Windows-only programs in Linux. That's just stupid. Don't do that. Switch to a comparable program that is meant to be run in Linux, or at least has very good compatibility. I was trying to run like Photoshop back then because I didn't like GIMP. And there was like other things that were problematic as well.
The dude abides.
FPS, thank you for the super chat. Will remove OneDrive be put into CoolKit? It should already be there, FPS, is it not? Should be. We're going to check it here in a bit. We're actually going to probably add back in remove Edge as well. I think it was Gabby that found a pretty easy way to make any program uninstallable through AppX by modifying the manifest. So that's actually a pretty slick way that's worked pretty well. We'll see how long that one lasts before Microsoft patches it. All right. Yeah, OneDrive is a virus. I agree. Should Linux Windows be used via dual booting or VM? I think you start with dual boot and then you finally move into VM when you actually need something. Once you get enough where like 90% of your workflows in Linux, then you just move into a VM. You don't really need to dual boot anymore. And that's kind of my thoughts on that. But it depends on you and where your Linux journey is. The idea of this article/video is to kind of go through and show people kind of what to expect. So like with the Windows only programs, that was like a lot of like Photoshop. I think I even tried Microsoft Office, which was awful. And I shouldn't have tried to use those in Linux. Just move on. All right. What other problems did I have in that first year? Too many distros. I should have focused on features I liked. I think let's expand that. This should be desktop environments, understanding those. Like when I say desktop environments, this is like GNOME, KDE, yeah, KDE, yeah, let's just XFCE, etc. I think that's good. Other things, file managers, yeah, and what other things do I really like about Linux and understanding the differences between the two? I would say using FOSS programs versus proprietary. No, I won't say that. Versus trying to use Wine or Windows counterparts. I think that's good too. Trying to think of anything else coming to Linux that first year. What are the things that I was constantly doing that was just insane? I've had zero issues with Windows 11. Like, yeah, you shouldn't switch to Linux. Just like Linux isn't for everybody, you know, totally. If Windows is working just fine for you and you're totally content with Windows, then stay with Windows. That's fine. Not everybody needs to switch, you know. There has to be peasants of the world so us elite people can rule you. That's it. That's totally how us Linux users think of Windows users. It's totally natural. It's okay. you know, halfway joking. What other issues do we have going to Linux? Gaming, actually. Gaming and mods. Support was spotty and not too much. I kind of I'll just say gaming and mods. That's enough to kind of prompt on, and I need to kind of, there's a lot to articulate there. Back in 2018, gaming was in a much worse spot than it is today. So it's kind of like, ooh. But even still today, the problem isn't necessarily game compatibility, but more about modifications of games or mods and interfacing with those. Most of mod programs are built with Windows only in mind. So it's kind of interesting. Me personally, I know how to make the mod programs or how to install the mods directly into the game. So it's actually more efficient on Linux for me now. But at the time, I didn't have that knowledge, so it was harder. So it's kind of hard. And right now, there's actually new mod programs as well, so it's kind of nice. Oh, awesome! IT consultant recommended WinUtil to him. Oh man, that's awesome. That makes me put a smile on my face. I love it. Proton tricks, wine tricks. Yeah, there's so much that goes into the mods. And I started making a book, the Linux book. Actually, I'm almost done with it, but I always constantly am adding to it. So I think this is pretty good for the first year. The second year and beyond, let's just call that making my perfect install. No desktop environments, or what would you call a fork of a parent distribution? No desktop environments, sticking to the big three: Fedora, Arch, and Debian. Environments. Well, we'll stick this through. We'll run it through old Jippity at the end here. Yeah, and I think that's it. Like, the thing about distributions most people need to understand is they're just making all these options for you. And then it's more about picking out what do you like about that distribution and making sure you replicate that in the next install that you do of Linux. Or if you don't, and it's like, hey, it gets me 90% there, know the 10% you don't like and remove the 10% you don't like. And go with just everything you want. Window managers. Configuring everything with terminal. I would say understanding the structure of Linux and how it differs from Windows. I would say this is kind of like the big thing. USR equals system resources, home, all files from home. You got etc, this is system config. You have home user dot config, and this is user config. So like there's all these things that people just you inherently learn after you understand the structure, and you're like, God, that's so much better than everything else on the market. And it makes so much sense, but it's just poorly implemented throughout all distributions. Like I've never run into a distribution like, oh, this is good. They typically they convolute it, and typically the GUI is just not well thought out, and sometimes it's just easier to interface with it directly on the terminal. I think the terminal is the best. I think it's the selling point of Linux. If you never want to touch the terminal, I think honestly Mac or Windows might be better for you. I've never seen a GUI done in Linux in a way that was extremely polished, that didn't have any issues. Like there was always something missing, or oh well, yeah, let's open up the terminal for that. And I think you just need to be comfortable with the terminal. And I think that's the biggest thing about Linux. And I know that pisses people off when I say it, but it's true. And I think it's really important. And maybe that's not true for every user. Like there are users that just want a web browser. Linux, basic Linux distro with one web browser, and that's all they're doing is pulling out the web. Yeah, Linux is probably a great operating system for them, and it's cheap and affordable. But for like a power user's kind of like, again, this is my journey in Linux, not necessarily the average person's journey in Linux. So I think it's kind of important to stipulate that here. It's how I use Linux. Dual boot versus virtual machine. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is a good one as well. So, have I missed anything here, chat? Let's pop over to chat. What do we got? What's wrong with Gen 2, Titus? Nothing's wrong with Gen 2. I would never make fun of the Gen 2 community. I love you, autistic bastards. Sorry. Call a spade a spade. Why do you talk about the granddaddy distros and you don't mention Gentoo? I use Gentoo. I know Gentoo is one of the ones, but it's just not very friendly. And someone that's learning Linux shouldn't necessarily use Gentoo. you'd learn a lot probably, but I think once you learn the other basics, and let's say you're like craving more customizability, I would say, then maybe Gen 2 might enter the thing. But I like to just troll people with Gen 2, not necessarily actually recommend it. I know I recommended it to Jake from LTT, but he hasn't touched the TISM. I think maybe Gen 2 might be fun for him, but also kind of to just troll him as well. So it's kind of like, let's have some fun. And I love that. NixOS is really great for sysadmins. Like, there's some stuff. Zorin, who gives a shit about Zorin? Real talk. It's just a fork of Debian. Has some cool defaults, I guess. But why? I just don't care. Yeah, Jake might actually enjoy the nightmare, and I think it would make some good content. At the end of the day, he is a YouTuber after all, and could you imagine the slew of videos that would come from him trying Gen 2? It would be fun for all of us. Maybe not fun for him, maybe, but it would be entertaining. I'm just saying. I would never troll anybody. Yeah. You don't do this for 8 years and don't learn how to either spot a troll or be a troll yourself. Sometimes I gotta out to troll the troll. That's just something. Linux from scratch too. Yeah, Nav. That's a good point. Good point. And that's true. I bet Jake has done some dabblings in Gen 2. I agree with that, Enron. Have you used Mango WC? It's my current window manager, and it's great and minimal. I've never even heard of that, Cube. Mango WC. What do we have? A Wayland compositor. I already don't like it. But, wait though. Hold up. DWM but Wayland. Well, that sounds interesting. We've got almost 2,000 stars, too. As fast, lightweight as DW, but can be built within seconds. Written in C. Excellent X-Wayland support. You've piqued my interest. Now, normally I just shit all over these projects that chat recommends. But this one, well, this looks like something special. Dependencies look relatively minimal for it being a Wayland. Honestly, Wayland has so many more dependencies than most Xorg stuff. But oh, I kind of like it. What's it using? Hybrid component DMS shell. Yeah, that's what I was wondering about. Desktop shell for Wayland compositors, built with quick shell and go. Really interesting. Really, really interesting. Ooh. I think this has some potential. Now, usually, like DWL, I kind of just shit on all the time because it's not very good. Especially compared to DWM, it's hard to get the damn thing to build properly, especially once you start doing some patches. I think even like the systrade trap batch is broken on the official DWL. This, though, this right here looks very interesting. I am starring that. I think I might even fork the damn thing. How many releases do we have? 10.9. How long has he been doing it? Let's go to the first release. I'm kind of curious to see where he's at in this project. Let's go tags. I like his release cadence. He's been working on it. This guy has been cooking. February 2025. That looks pretty sweet, man. I'm not gonna lie. we're gonna have to mess with that. Because eventually I'm gonna have to move off of Xorg. I know I will. I've just been like dreading it. And I've like always just like, it's just not quite there. But dank material shell looks pretty good. And coupled with DWM but Wayland as the tagline, that dev knows how to get me. It just hit me right in my heart right there. I was just like, oh, that does look good. All right, we'll have to tinker around with that. Yeah, DWL was very bad. That was my experience too. I got it to build from stock, but it was like, ooh, this is really rough around the edges. And as soon as I did the first patch, which I've done at this point almost thousands of DWM patches, DWL patches were not nearly as polished or functional as the DWM counterpart. So I ran into a lot of problems with DWL. Specifically, like DWL just refused to work at all on any NVIDIA hardware too. So it was definitely a major meh point for me. Linux is unusable with Wayland without me. I have HDR and multi-monitor VRR. Yep. Tro, see, this is it. So this is very much, ooh, we need to talk about that. I'm glad you made this comment, Tro. Because I love Xorg, right? I'm on Xorg right now, obviously. This is Xorg DWM. Linux hardware matters. NVIDIA versus AMD. Monitor and third-party issues. This is VRR, 4K support, tearing, incompatible streaming software, streaming hardware, I should say, like Elgato. I always think of cats. Gato. Anyways, yeah, Ex Libra. So, like, here's the thing, guys. Like, I don't give a shit if something has political whatever, or people, like, the whole, like, social aspect of things. I just don't care. At the end of the day, I look at a project, I download it, I try it, and does it work or does it not? That's all I care about. I really could care less if the guy worships Satan or not. I just want it to work right. Okay? So I don't care about his political leanings and all the other stuff. The problem with Ex Libra is I haven't seen any competence there to a degree of actually maintaining the project properly and actually pushing it forward in a way that would make it better than traditional Xorg. A couple of the patches he done leaded to a whole bunch of regressions elsewhere, and I'm just not comfortable that, what is his name, Enrico or whatever the hell it is. I don't think he's a very good developer. Straight up. I think a lot of his code is kind of shite, and how he manages that project is kind of like Wild Westy. So, Ex Libra, I haven't seen anything that I'm like, this is good or it's bad. It's just non-woke is its selling point. And I'm like, I don't give a shit. I don't care if it's woke, non-woke. I just want it to work. And at the end of the day, Ex Libra doesn't. It kind of works, but sometimes you run into regressions. And maybe that was just my experiences with it when I tried it. So, I don't give a damn. It's just, at the end of the day, I just want it to work. And do I think it has a future? No. I really wish it did, because I love Xorg. But, The other project I looked at too was, I think it was Phoenix is what it was called. It was another Ex Libra fork or Xorg fork. And, man, a lot of these forks, I just don't, I wish them the best, and I hope one of them succeeds. It's just, I haven't seen any promise of it succeeding. There's just so much to do there. And I hate Wayland. because I think Wayland honestly is just overhyped, overmarketed, and I'm not sold that it's a better solution than Xorg. So I'm kind of sitting here going, man, this kind of sucks. So that's where I'm sitting right now with the Linux community and kind of what I'm feeling. I wish Wayland was better, and for some people it is, but for me it's not. And I'm just sitting here on Xorg because it works. God, and that's just it. Yeah. I mean, the Phoenix project is cool, but I mean, it still has a long ways to go. Yeah. I think it is kind of a full rewrite, but he's using a lot of other stuff as dependencies, so it isn't standing on its own yet. So Phoenix will be a replacement for traditional the X server, but he's still using a lot of other stuff to kind of get it going right now. And then he's slowly kind of building it into where it'll be a whole fresh new foundation. So I think Phoenix probably has the best chance of success for a true Wayland alternative in the future. But as of today, yeah, it's either Xorg or Wayland. So yeah, I still hate Red Hat. I wish them, no, I just really don't like, I just don't like Red Hat at all. I hate them. Alma Linux, that was kind of nice. Rocky Linux is also very good. I've always liked Rocky Linux. The creator of Rocky Linux was actually the original creator of CentOS, the good CentOS, back in the day CentOS. And I've always liked Rocky as well. So those two are fine. They're one-to-one replicants of RHEL, or Red Hat Enterprise Linux. And they're still very good, and they've been able to work around even all the shenanigans that Red Hat has pulled over the years. But it's like, oh, goodness. What's wrong with Wayland? It may be nothing for you. I think that's what it kind of ties into what we're writing here. Wayland can be good, right? It solves VRR. It solves 4K support. Tearing, honestly, is a skill issue with Xorg. Like, I don't have tearing. But you might, because you might use some older, like, X server driver using Intel that might cause tearing. Or maybe you just don't do tear-free in your Xorg config. I don't know. But, by defaults, they don't do tear-free usually in Xorg. So this is more of a skill issue. And then as far as incompatible software and stuff, that's like hardware-oriented stuff. Wayland can cause a lot of problems still with NVIDIA. Specifically, depending on what type of window manager you're using. I would say Hyperland has the best NVIDIA support, followed by Sway. I think Sway has some NVIDIA support still too, but it does require some tinkering to get working properly. And they keep pushing it forward, though. And it just depends on your hardware and also your setup. So I use a 1080p monitor. I think I'm at 120 refresh. 1 second. Don't make me a liar. What is my refresh rate? Yeah. I'm 1080p at 120 refresh. So, kind of an old man in the grand scheme of things. For me, obviously, Xorg is still the tried and true, stable rock of a configuration. Nothing ever breaks. It works great for me. That's why I use it. Rocky has some controversy about half charity, half not. Oh, that's true. They gotta make $1. And I don't mind them. They're still giving out everything for free. I haven't run into anything there that was like, oh. I think the controversy was they had some favoritism towards people that were paying them to get something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it wasn't like they're gatekeeping features, I don't believe, through, correct me though if I'm wrong here, but I don't believe they're gatekeeping any features or anything like that. So I still liked Rocky, but it's been maybe a year or two since I looked at it last. Have you heard of DaVinci Box? It's meant to fix issues running Resolve on Linux. Man, Cube, you are just full of good comments today. And I think I was critiquing you for recommending Gentoo. What the hell is this? Container for DaVinci Resolve with runtime dependencies on Linux. Huh. How interesting. Uses RockM. Okay. Yeah, RockM is just for newer AMD cards, which is fine. That's what I have. As long as you're not using like a really old kernel, you'll be fine. That's cool, man. Damn. All right. Well, you just that's a pretty cool project too. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, DaVinci Resolve from a container is exactly what that project is. Which DaVinci Resolve has a ton of configuration problems with Linux, by the way. Jake was just hitting the tip of the iceberg when he was trying to run it. He was first running. Here, I'll run into actually kind of what it does. So, typically, certain programs install into what's called the OPT directory. Now, the OPT directory is fine for the most part, except DaVinci Resolve Linux Division is not very polished. And what ends up happening is a lot of the permissions get all screwed up in OPT. So they install Resolve into OPT, and then they never actually correct the actual permissions. So when Jake was trying to install his license file, it didn't have permissions to install. So he'd enter it, it would say activated, but then it wouldn't be activated. He's like, WTF, I can't figure this out. If you had gone into here, and then let's say, we'll just use Reshade for an example. You could do like a chown, Titus, colon, or you go Titus users if you want to do it kind of like how we have it on Yay Bin. And then you would go Reshade or Resolve in that instance. And then you need to do that as sudo. And then you'll notice it fixes a lot of the permissions. But you probably need to do that recursively, because if we go into the Reshade directory, you'll notice that's still owned by root. So instead, probably doing a sudo ch. I think it's just -r. Is it a capital R? Yeah, capital R. So then let's go into Reshade again. And then you'll find, oh, now we actually have the proper permissions. So if there was a license file and this was Resolve, you could then now write to it. So then when you enter it in on the program, it would actually write properly. So that was Jake's specific issue, but his issues wouldn't have ended there. He would also probably had some encoding issues. Specifically, by default, OBS records everything with AAC audio. AAC audio is a proprietary audio thing that requires a special codec, and Linux doesn't have support for it. Specifically, Resolve doesn't have support for it, I should say. So you can't edit video files with AAC, which is actually okay. I don't actually have a problem with this either, because in OBS I change all my audio from AAC to Opus. Opus actually is a higher quality format. It actually gives more depth in the voice. So you have a more deep, rich sound that is actually edited better, and you can pull that just fine into it. And it's more space efficient than AAC. So I'm not a big fan of AAC actually, and Opus actually is a better solution. So you need to change that. So then he's fixed the licensing issue, he's fixed the audio issue, but then he's going to run into a third issue with Resolve. And I actually documented this one. And sometimes Resolve, let's go to my website, Linux issues, I think it was. What is that? Why I use Linux. I think this one's how I use Linux. That's real original, Chris. My problems with Linux. Here we go. I want to say audio. So right here I was having audio issues with Resolve. It wasn't properly scrubbing my timeline, or sometimes it would kind of glitch out on me, and I found that Pipewire wasn't well supported in Resolve at the time of this article being made, which was June of 2024. So that was a year and a half ago. Maybe it's gotten better. But at the time, my solution was to completely strip out Pipewire and just use ALSA. And this is kind of how I went about doing it. Use Opus for the audio transcode, and Opus is better quality than AAC. Also, do not use Pipewire. Go ahead and install Pulse and Pulse ALSA as opposing packages, and remove any Pipewire based packages. And then once you switch completely over to that, I didn't have any problems. Also, the encoding performance of AMD GPUs in Linux was kind of shite back in 2024 at least, and I ended up switching to an NVIDIA 4070 Super. Now, having said that, that 78XT on that version of the Linux kernel wasn't properly getting utilized. It was at 40 or 50% every time I'd start a game. It just wasn't able to peak up. That's been solved. I think it was sometime in like kernel 6.10, I want to say. And if you look, let's just do a fast fetch over here. You look, we are on kernel 6.18 now, and yeah, it works great now. So again, like bleeding edge hardware would probably be another thing I would add here too. Bleeding edge hardware will have worse support. So if something just comes out, a lot of times you don't want to be installing Linux on that system, because it might take a little bit. Now, having said that, it's not always the case. If you're using Arch with a rolling release, even Fedora has pretty up-to-date kernel releases. So usually those ones are the first to get support, where Debian will lag behind 6 months to a year. And it's kind of important to know that. What else do we have? Am I missing anything, guys? I'm sorry, I'm just yapping away here. Change OBS to AAC. It matters. Do I need to switch? Yes. If you're using Linux, you absolutely need to switch to Opus. And yes, it does matter. And yes, the audio quality is better. You have a good set of monitoring headphones. Not some gamer's bullshit headset like a lot of people have, but actually good, like, Audio Technicas. You know, not the cheap side, but actually good headset. You'll notice a difference between Opus and AAC. Look it up online if you don't believe me. You'll find that I'm right. So I would switch to Opus from AAC. Chitty, chat, chitty. That is me. Feeling quite chatty today, I will say. I think AAC is made by Apple. Well, that's another reason not to use it, right? An actual studio monitor headset. Yes. And you'll notice a big audio difference. Like, honestly, I don't know why anybody would ever use a gaming headset or a lot of the crap that you see on there. A lot of times those gaming headsets are just upcharged crap. You know, it's actually probably $20 worth of hardware, but it's repackaged and tossed like an RGB in there, and then they upcharge you to $100 for something kind of sucky. I think Sennheiser actually got bought out. I love Sennheiser though. Sennheiser's still one of my favorites. But did they go bankrupt or got sold or something in the past year or two? Something happened, I remember. I can't remember exactly what. But I've always liked Sennheiser, but I don't know if that's a valid option anymore. I know Audio Technica. There's other ones out there I can't really think of off the top of my head right now. You gotta update the Linux gaming guide. Oh my god, for sure. Oh yeah, OpenGL. OpenGL is kind of a thing of the past, though. We really should be using OpenGL in 2025. Or actually, 2026. Only 8 years in Linux. Rookie numbers. I know, Strawberry Kitten. I know. Well, I guess I could say 8 years as the primary daily driver in Linux. I have decades of experience with Linux servers. So there is a little bit of a caveat there that I may or may not say in the video. All right. Let's compile this. Let's do this video. Is there anything else that I should change or say in here, chat, for how I use Linux? Anything else from the first and second year, based on the past here? We're kind of going to go over all this. And trying to think of anything else. Audio kind of sucks in Linux. Maybe we mentioned that. It does. Audio is kind of an afterthought. I don't really have USB issues with Linux. I'm trying to think of anything else. Probably have more USB issues with Windows, to be honest. Sometimes the driver's support is kind of crap in Windows. Make sure you let them know you're procrastinating when you tell while you record. Oh, true. What is the MicroWin update all about? Yes, I know. Nobody cares about my Linux opinions anymore. It's all about when you tell. It's all I'm good for anymore. Linux audio is so much better now that we have Pipewire, though. Agreed, Kaz. Agreed. It has gotten a lot better, but it's still not as good as your Windows or Mac counterpart yet. Maybe sometime in the future we'll get there. Logitech issue with suspending PC. You know, when it comes to power management in Linux, it is substandard as well. Having said that, though, it might just be a skill issue. I also run into the same problem, but I'm kind of convinced it might be something I'm doing. I only say that because with the Steam Deck's kind of cool because it tells me if it's a skill issue or not. Like, there's two things the Steam Deck does pretty darn well. Power management is pretty good. Its standby state does work quite well. And Bluetooth support in the Steam Deck is also pretty darn good. And both those things kind of suck to do in Linux outside in just your standard desktop distributions. So I think there's a good way to do both those things well, but by stock defaults, they both are a bit on shaky ground in Linux, especially compared to how they work in Apple and Windows. Although Windows Bluetooth support kind of sucks too. Let's be honest here. How many people have ever hooked up a Bluetooth headset to Windows and had that disconnect? That's like the standard. So I mean, almost anything's better than that. So I wouldn't exactly call Windows better in Bluetooth. Apple, Mac, they're the best. They do Bluetooth the best, for sure. Will Arch installer receive updates? I'm pretty sure. Open WRT image. Oh man, I remember OpenArt WRT. I haven't used that in a while. I think they sold out or something from back in the day. I remember I used to use them with the old, the classic, the OG best networking equipment ever that you could buy a residential. What was it? The WRT54G Cisco router. It wasn't Cisco. I think it was a weird branding because it was Linksys. It was a Linksys WRT54G, but it had like a little bit of the Cisco. But then you could install the custom firmware, and then it would unlock everything. This would have been mid 2000s. I'm gonna date myself. That's almost 20 years ago now. Dang. Yeah, it was the OG though. God bless. Everyone had one of those, and you could do so much with it. Ugh, such a good value back in the day. Yeah, AirPods lags on Linux, also on Windows. Yeah, it's just one of those weird things with Bluetooth, you know? I don't know how much of it is proprietary protocol and other shenanigans done by the manufacturer, and how much of it is an onus on the actual operating system. Because Windows sucks at Bluetooth too. It's kind of shocking how much Windows sucks at Bluetooth. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah, I bricked mine doing that. Yeah, that's funny. All right, let's get this video done, shall we? Let's save this. Hugo server FD. What do we got? Local host. Let's close that up. Dude, I have so much I forgot to publish. First year. All right. All right, should we start with big screen? Go big head? Big Titus. All right, here we go. Let's go. We're going to do our YouTube video. We'll just do it in one shot. Everybody ready? All right. Don't do anything silly while I'm recording here. We do need to make a YouTube video, and we're going to just do it right now. All right. Get ready. Gotta make a lot of faces, and then we'll do the recording. All right, a lot of options for thumbnails there. All right, let's get going. How I use Linux over the past 8 years might be shocking to many people. A lot of people have trouble switching from Windows to Linux. As a person that's been in Windows for like 20 plus years, as a power user, I have more than 10 different professional certifications in Windows. Switching to Linux has been hard. But I will say, over the past 8 years of using Linux as my primary driver, there's been some really cool things that I learned, and this might help you switch to Linux, especially if you're an advanced Windows user. So the big thing here is you're going to run into some problems. A lot of people in Linux say, hey, Linux installs on everything. It does, but sometimes you're just not going to have a great experience. So let's break down some of the challenges I've had over the past 8 years, so maybe it helps you not beat your head against the wall. And if you actually want to see the full-blown as it happened 8 years ago, I documented this entire experience. So I did Arch Linux for 10 days. I did Ubuntu for 30 days. I think there's a Fedora challenge in there. I did Manjaro. I distro hopped pretty much every week. People watching my channel are like, what distro is he on now? They're like, wait a second, he wasn't on this yesterday. I'd be like, I know, I'm trying on everything. So I literally did it all. But the things that I learned during that experience was distributions really didn't matter, because I needed to figure out what I liked and what I didn't like. And what ended up happening was, when I was looking at distributions, many of those distributions like GNOME, KDE, XFCE, these were not distributions, but desktop environments. And many people, especially when you're new to Linux, choose your Linux distribution based on the look. And this is normal. And they were like, oh, well, this is just new functionality. Well, it really doesn't matter. You can really switch out these on the fly without having to reinstall everything. And that's kind of a big deal. So that's one of the big things with it, in like picking just a file manager. Like when I'm here and I launch my file manager, this right here is Thunar, and I really like Thunar. I figured out that's my file manager. This is actually from XFCE, but I don't really use XFCE. I just liked their file manager. So you can actually mix and match different sections of these utilities based on your preference. And I think that's really cool. So that's the other thing. Pick out what you like about it. And then the other downfall I had my first 60 days I kept trying to use Windows programs that were Windows only, like Adobe products. You had so much in like Wine and other things that I was trying to emulate inside of Linux, because Linux folks were like, everything just works over here. God, skill issue, man. Just get good, scrub. But really, the biggest thing there is not everything works great. If you need Microsoft Office, if you are a professional and if you've used Adobe products for 10 plus years, you're going to be better served on Mac and Windows, and that's just a hard truth that you need to swallow. And that means either dual booting or possibly virtual machines, which I'll get into in a second, because, spoiler, most people that watch me for my Windows utility, and a lot of times they're like, oh yeah, Titus is a Windows user. He doesn't use Linux. Oh yeah. This is what they see. But guess what? Joke's on them. We're actually in Linux. They just don't know it. So that's where I come from. That's my thing. And in trying to use Windows programs on Linux, it's just not worth it. If it is one of those programs, I will use it, but I will dual boot and then use it. Or I'll use it in my virtual machine like I just showed. The other thing is gaming. Now, when I first got here in 2018, gaming was just really starting to take off. Steam was just doing like Proton and other stuff, and it was really cool. But, God, I gotta blow my nose. Damn it. 1 second.
Yeah, well, the dude abides.
Thanks for the prime, 3A. But the thing about gaming that you just don't understand is it may work, but a lot of times you might need extra modifications. And there's things that happen because almost every game is made for Windows that it's installed a little differently in Linux. So mod support doesn't necessarily work out of the gate, especially not how you know it in Windows. You kind of need a Linux counterpart. Now that's coming along, and it's really seeing massive strides with all the stuff Valve's doing, but it's still not quite as good as it is in Windows, and it's really important to know. But if you're using mostly older games, I would even say in 2026, it's a better experience in Linux. So it can be good, but not everything plays in Linux. And if you're really heavy with mods, like let's say you're a Skyrim freak that have just thrown money at Bethesda for the past, 12 years or something? 15 years? How long Skyrim been out? Oh my gosh, and so many mods. You know, you're doing all kinds of shenanigans with those mods. You're probably not going to have a great experience in Linux. So you shouldn't kind of know that. But for me, I want to show you my Steam replay real fast, just so you can see kind of the evolution of my Linux to Windows. And even though I have Windows and Linux both kind of installed here, I primarily use Linux these days. What was the replay? Yes. Uh-huh. 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 So here are the last 3 Steam replays from the past 3 years, just so you can kind of just see the evolution in the past couple years. Now, a lot of Linux YouTubers might even hide this from you, but I'm going to show you my actual Steam profile. Don't judge me for the games I play. By the way, Age of Empires 4, masterpiece. You're wrong if you think it's not. I love my RTS. Anyways, I digress. So this is just kind of going through, but the big thing I wanted to show you here is what I'm using in playtime. 65% of playtime in 2023 was Windows. 32% was the Steam Deck, and 2% was on Linux at this time. My Linux install, I was kind of doing it, but a lot of that 2% was me just kind of showing off on stream or something like that, where I was like, oh, check me out, I'm a Linux gamer. But a lot of it was more Steam Deck and casual, and then the Windows side of things, I was doing heavy mods. At the time, Age of Empires 4 kind of had a desync issue in Linux, so I didn't want a chance doing a multiplayer match and getting desynced. So I was like, I'm not messing with that. And the other game I was playing at the time was Final Fantasy XI Online, and I was doing heavy modifications, especially with this Sheeta project and other things that were kind of injecting into the binary. And there's a whole different setup there. If you're ever familiar with 20-year-old plus MMOs, there's a lot of modifications to make it usable. So most of my 23 gameplay, I would say, was Windows. Now, the next year, 2024, well, let's look at what happened. Again, oh my god, this one I was playing a lot of Fallout 76. All right, you can judge me for that one. I accept. I deserve a couple hate comments for the Fallout 76. Totally get it. So playtime on this one, 78% Windows, 12% on the Steam Deck, and 9% Linux. Well, that's even worse. So what's going on here? Well, a lot of my playtime, I was kind of just going back and forth. And at this time, again, I was still kind of using Final Fantasy XI. It was already booted up inside. And when recreation time came to be, even though I was mainlining Linux, a lot of my gaming still was being done on Windows. Until this past year in 2025, you're going to see a big difference and a big change here. One, I only played Final Fantasy XI. I finally quit it this year. Swear. I'm addicted to that stupid old MMO. Brain damaged. Anyways, most of this year you'll see it's kind of gone full circle here, and almost 80% of everything's Linux. 12% still Steam Deck. I still use my Steam Deck for like casual, and only about 10% Windows playtime. And I'm not sure, that was probably when I was developing WinUtil. I might have been dual booted inside, and I didn't want to reboot into Linux, so I just launched Steam from there. But there was nothing really I was playing that had to use Windows at this time, because I pretty much quit Final Fantasy XI, and I was like, all right, there's all the other games now, they pretty much all play in Linux, and I'm not playing any like kernel anti-cheat games or anything like that. So almost everything this year so far has been Linux, and honestly, it's actually, I think this discounts December, which was even more Linux gameplay. And I even did some tests between Windows, Linux, and Steam Deck. You can kind of see the pie chart over here. There's just numbers of gameplay, but really what the true tale of the tape is the actual playtime. So past that first year, and now that you've seen how good Linux gaming has gotten, you can always check like ProtonDB to see where you might fit into this equation if you need it for anything, or if you're not heavily modifying games and you're just wanting to play. Linux now is pretty much plug and play with a lot of Steam stuff, which is great. But the second year and beyond, I was trying to get the perfect install. And I think this is just like an inherent Linux thing. I always like to tinker a bit, but I pretty much stopped distro hopping at this point in time, and I just stick to the big three: Fedora, Arch, Debian, or a variant of that. I don't really do much past that. Desktop environments, I was doing some KDE and other things, but at this time, I moved to just window managers, which is what I'm on right now. And I have a long history of IT development, and almost everything I like to do now, I just configure it in the terminal. So I don't need anything extra with my desktop environment. I just go ahead and program it in the terminal. And then for my window management, like everything you see here, if I launch multiple windows, you've seen this type of thing. You'll notice in my DWM, which I use for window management, the only thing here that's compiled and used in this system is this binary. So about 116K, not even a meg. And that's what runs my entire GUI. So I stripped all that out because often I would install too much stuff, or I would update my desktop environment and then there'd be something that conflicted, and then all of a sudden my system wouldn't work all that well, or I'd have some bug. And I didn't like that. So now I've kind of removed all that extra crap, and now I just literally update my system anytime. Like I could be here and just update it all willy-nilly. And for the most part, I haven't run into any issues anytime I do a massive update. So live on stream, I'm just like, yeah, let's update. just any other day, I can just update because I don't have to worry about something being incompatible with my 100 KB file, essentially. I don't have this massive desktop environment. I don't have all this other stuff. So I just do window management. Now, this isn't for everybody, but it's a big difference of why it's so stable for me. I think a lot of people try Linux, they install anything and everything, and then they do a big update like this, and then they have some dependency issue, and then something breaks. And then they're like, damn it, I'm going back to Windows. I have no idea what happened. And there's just so much that goes into their system that they don't know where it broke. Where mine, if something breaks on this update, I only have one spot to go, and I'm like, okay, what happened here? Why isn't this launching? Oh, okay, let me fix that. And then off I go, if that ever happens. I mean, I think the last many updates I've done, I haven't really run into anything. Speaking of which, you'll notice if you look right here, the uptime for this OS is 628 days. And Arch Linux isn't considered to be a stable version of Linux, but for me, it's incredibly stable. And I think that just speaks to having less as a full-blown environment, because with Windows and Mac, it's well done, but with Linux, I think less is more, where if you have less stuff to go wrong, you really don't have to worry about big updates or anything like that. Now, we do have some errors here. Let's let this update finish and we'll see what happens. All right, now we're gonna just sit here and we'll probably do like a time jump. Oh yeah, my desk is wood, so just knock, it's fine. Yo, hyperlapse it. Yo, we'll just add some people here. Next breaking in. Not next breaking in, maybe. Let's see how it goes. Oh, okay. Yeah, it should be fine with the updates. But yeah, what's next on the list too? I guess we'll find out once we get back. What are we recording? We're about 15 minutes. I'm gonna chop this up. It'll be done. 10-minute video, I think. Wobbly Windows, worst Linux invention ever. If you update for a year, this is what happened. I would say, I think the last update we did was like, what, a week or two ago? Chat would know. I always do these updates live, so then everybody knows what my update cycle is. All right, that looks like it worked great. So here we go. We have finished our update. Everything's good. We probably do a reboot and do it, but I do this about once a week. Sometimes I forget. It goes, you know, a couple weeks, even a month. Arch these days, I actually, in one of my Insight systems, I hadn't updated Arch in many months, and normally that would break, you know, 5 years ago. But in 2026, Arch team has done a phenomenal job, and I would say it's pretty darn stable. I haven't actually had any issues. I did use like CachyOS's kernel, which is optimized for desktop, and some of their binary packages, which is a little bit faster because they do something where it runs a little bit quicker, but you don't have to. Stable Arch is just fine. Past that, really, once I learned, hey, let's not, you know, less is more. Let's just figure out what I want to use, and I just have my file manager, my window manager, and then I just configure everything through terminal. There's not much to break, and everything works fantastic. It's really fast. I don't have to worry about some big update or some big corporation saying you're going to install this crap on my system. It's wonderful, and I love the terminal. So understanding how Linux differs from Windows is actually quite nice. Like in Windows, when you go to install a program, it could get installed in program files 32-bit, program data. It could get an AppX package that gets thrown through the Microsoft Store. It could go into local data. It could go into roaming data. It could get installed a variety of different ways. Even old school programs get registry entries and get launched outside of your user folder. Windows is kind of crazy on how it installs things. And pretty much everything in Linux, if it's a user configuration, it's going to be in home user.config. If it's a system configuration, it's going to be in /etc. So they're kind of standardized. Now, there are some exceptions to this rule, but for the most part, 90+% of all stuff falls into these two golden rules of Linux. And I love it. It's nice. I don't have to sit here and worry about what the hell's going on with packages. So very nice. And then for the things I do need, dual booting and virtual machines is great. Like I dual boot all the time. I would say Windows sometimes does update and it might break your bootloader. So I highly recommend if you dual boot, 2 hard drives is almost a must. Install Windows first and then install Linux second and have them install their own boot partitions on each one of their drives. If you don't know how to do that or you're worried about it, disconnect one drive when you go to install the other operating system if you really want to make sure, but it'll work great. And if like you only need a couple things from Windows every now and again, honestly, virtual machine it. Like this is a virtual machine right here, highly optimized, so most people don't even know it's a virtual machine. And it runs directly. I passed through a bunch of stuff, but you can make the virtual machines very performant on Linux, much more so than you can on Windows. And it integrates in very, very well. So I could even play games on that and I don't even have to worry about it. Now, the other thing that I kind of talked about in the very beginning of this video was Linux hardware matters. NVIDIA versus AMD, which is better? Well, it just depends. Like if you're doing mostly productivity work, I would say NVIDIA can be better for like Resolve people. NVIDIA is going to usually give better performance than your AMD counterpart. But if you're just a gamer and you want a highly compatible system that doesn't require any extra modules, which you notice how I didn't say drivers? It's because Linux uses modules that tack on to the Linux kernel. Believe it or not, Linux already has all the drivers for almost every system baked into its kernel. So when it boots up, there are no extra drivers to download. It either works or it doesn't. So hardware compatibility does matter, and AMD's is just baked in. Don't have to worry about it. NVIDIA does require some install, and you have to worry a little bit about those updates because if that kernel module does break during an update, your system won't boot, or it'll boot, but you won't have a video output, which, you know, there's ways to fix, but I'm not going to go into that right now. Just know that is a thing. Sometimes that does happen, and it just depends on where you reside, on what your needs are and what system you have. Both do work though. And then certain other things, you know, variable refresh rate, 4K support, tearing. You've probably heard of these things. Well, Linux, like 5 years ago, almost everything used Xorg. Well, it doesn't have VRR, it doesn't have 4K support, and you have to modify, or, well, you have to configure Xorg to not have tearing or be tear-free by default. You can do all these things, and that's what I do. I still use Xorg. But most people these days use Wayland, and just know, like, almost every desktop environment, most people are huge into, like, Hyperland and other things you've heard about. Those are all Wayland. It's like the new blood coming into the space, and they do have support for that. So that's just something to know. And then also understanding bleeding edge hardware has worse support than both Mac and Windows. Almost everything built out on the market right now builds for Windows and Mac first, and then Linux is a second or an afterthought in a lot of ways. So if you buy a graphics card or a CPU on the day it's released, if you're using Arch, it'll probably work, but you might have, you know, poor performance because it might not be well optimized on that first day. But after 6 months or a year, usually you're good to go. So it just depends. So it's just important to know, and to know these things and research them beforehand. When it comes to Linux, if you have good hardware support, you have everything built for it, and you understand the limitations of what you're doing, it can be the best experience ever, the most stable. That's why Linux people are like, my system, I haven't even rebooted it in a year. And it's perfectly stable. Yeah, it is for them, but for you, it might be a different story. It just depends on where you're at in your journey. So I would just wanted to share mine today. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Yeah, that was a long-winded video, but anyways, I'll chop up that. There's probably a lot I'll cut out. I don't know. I feel like there's some good information in there. There's probably some repetition. Anything that was repeated in there, I'll cut. Yeah. All right. Time to check out the MicroWin. Yeah, that's what editing's for. It's so true. All right, MicroWin update. You got it, Coding Wonders. Let's do it. I need help with the BattleNet install with Flatpak Lutris. Chingy changy. All right, here you go, brother. What you need is to follow this. I actually ran into this just the other day when it came to BattleNet. I think it was Lutris wiki, actually. Yes. So there's a lot of dependencies depending on your system, but this is the document you need. And this will fix up all your BattleNet woes. So if you do use anything from BattleNet, go through this document, get any system dependencies. This will fix font rendering issues, black screens. A lot of times, I think the last time I installed BattleNet, it kept saying like something about like the caching was wrong and then it wouldn't load, and I had to completely, it was stuck in a boot loop essentially. And I remember going through all of this, but go through this. You'll have all of these things. Sleeping agent issues. I had this problem. So this was the big thing. Kill all of this and then go through, follow it to a T. You got to really, really read as you go through. But once it gets installed, it's rock solid. So that document's really important for you. BattleNet, it can be finicky on the initial install. I don't know. Do I have BattleNet installed here? I forget. Oh, yeah. Here, a little play it. It's been a while. No, I think I might have deleted it. Did I? No. What happened here? Runner options. Let's see. Let's remove F-Sync. Let's strip this back. I wonder if I can get this to launch or not. It's using GE Proton, which is fine. Let's disable game scope. Let's just cancel. I think it's game scope that was causing it. Disable that. Let's see if that launches this time. Yeah, sometimes you have to just be patient too. Let's give it the real world example here though. And also, like when you do the initial install with the Lutris, make sure you don't sign in. It'll say don't sign in until you get all the way to the prompt. But let all the stuff finish in the background and then just close it. Make sure you don't sign in the very first time. I remember that was important, and it popped up several times. You have to make sure you don't sign in. Yeah, a lot of people just use bottles or Fugus. Man, I'm gonna get into trouble tro saying that one. Man, they really screwed up when they named that one, didn't they? It sounds like a slur. God. Yeah, but that's also a good one. Let me just type that out because obviously I'm having problems. Yeah, this is a simple lightweight launcher. I know they've done a pretty good job and they're really good compatibility with it. So maybe don't lose Lutris for BattleNet. I would probably recommend something like this or using Bottles. I know Bottles does a really good job as well. Actually, did I do Bottles? I didn't use Bottles. I don't even have it installed. Fungus. Ah, man, that is just such a... Too close. Anyways. All right, we are ready. Let's get into some MicroWin. I'm sorry, let's not leave old Code and Wonders out in the cold. We've been working hard on this. Let's pull our changes from WinUtil, try out some MicroWin. Saw some suspicious fit girl auto-completion URLs. Hey. My wife wanted to play some Sims. Do I need to say more than that? If you've been there, you know what I'm saying. All right. Let's go. Anti-cheat stuff. Star Citizen uses anti-cheat. Easy Anti-Cheat actually has Linux support. It's actually a toggle. So the publisher either has Linux or doesn't. So it just depends on the publisher. But if a publisher doesn't have any Linux support or they purposely leave out Linux, good examples like Destiny, Battlefield, Call of Duty, all these have anti-cheat that are anti-Linux. Same with Riot Games, League of Legends, and Valorant. None of these work on Linux anymore. League of Legends worked for years, but no longer because of the anti-cheat situation. Just don't buy them. Don't give these companies any of your money. It's as simple as that. I understand you really want to play that game, and at that point, I have to say either dual boot or don't give them your money. Me personally, I just don't give them my money. Or like, let's say it's like, hey, I have a buddy that wants to play Battlefield. I'll use my console. You know, the kids have a PlayStation there. I never play on it, but anytime I need something like a Battlefield sesh with a buddy of mine, I'll just load that up and just use it. And then something like, what was it? Chiaki? You'll know one more thing about Linux people, too. They have some of the absolute dog water worst, absolutely the worst naming scheme of all time. So then you just get in here, you have your console, and then you could go, then what's this working? Oh, not working. What's going on with that? All right, let's try that again. All right, let's see. Do L1, R1, D-pad up. Huh. Oh well. I don't feel like troubleshooting it. Anyways, that's an option as well. So you could do that. Shooter and console. Well, you can use the keyboard and mouse on console too. I'm just saying. I may or may not done that. May or may not left aim assist on, so you get the controller aim assist while using keyboard and mouse and just absolutely slaughter everybody on PlayStation. And those console peasants, why they don't know that I'm using all of that. I will not take that may or may not be a thing. Anyways, getting back to what we were saying, let's get into that MicroWin update. Alrighty, just some ideas for those out there that want to play with it. Okay. MicroWin. Let's launch all VS Code. And we're gonna go open folder. WinUtil. Open it up. Gotta own those 12-year-olds. Yeah, you gotta correct those potty mouths. I tell you what, gotta keep them in check. Gotta own those 12-year-olds. Kill them and be like, who's your daddy? No, I am. I'm sorry. Terrible. All right. Focus, Chris. Focus. All right. MicroWin PR. We're doing it. Ooh, here we go. 2026. Let's check this bad boy out. We're gonna build it up. Unable to pull remote Robert. Yes, replace local tags. All right, we've checked it out. Let's do our compile here. And see what we get. Alrighty. Compile run. COD 7 replaced my secure boot requirement by making me not want to play it. Oh god, I saw the funniest tweet the other day. Let's get MicroWin working and I'll pull that up while MicroWin does its thing. Yeah, let's select our ISO, grab 25H2, checking disk space, copying Windows files. Now you'll notice what Coding Wonders did here. There's no more checkbox here. We removed a ton of options. He went through and made sure there's no scratch directory that you got to pick anymore. Just going to toss in a temp. Because people were putting the wrong thing in certain spots, and then all of a sudden it would try to use that. It was just getting too convoluted. So we're streamlining MicroWin, so pretty much anybody can just get in here, select your own ISO, say go. So this will process in the background. Shouldn't take much longer. Let's see what we get. All right, so now we got our current setup. Now we remove some things here. Now it's just the essentials. I'm gonna go ahead and say include virt.io drivers because we will be using this in a virtual machine. We're gonna say just subscribe to empty password, so this will just auto log in essentially. We're gonna hit start process. We're gonna say MicroWin, and this one's gonna be 1/15/2026. Save. Oh my gosh, I remember Mastodon. Yeah. I feel like most short form media is kind of just on its death throes. Whether it's Twitter, Mastodon, Blue Sky, they all feel kind of terrible. It's always been a dumpster fire. And it feels like it's just gotten worse to where it's just all brain rot on there now. Although Twitter, you can put everybody in bikinis now. So dare I say that's an improvement? Hey Grok, remove everybody's clothes and put them in a bikini. And you're like, oh well, I guess this is the future. Instead of flying cars, we have AI that can remove people's clothes. All right. Put everybody in clown suits. Yeah, but I mean, it's all pretty terrible. Like, if we're being real, there's no benefit to being on any of them. But I did see something funny on the other one. Why this loads up and we do let it do its thing. Usually it takes about 10-15 minutes to go through all this. I think we can just pull it up. Hopefully nothing inappropriate gets flown. We're going to go my notifications. We're going to just go to my profile, actually. Yes. This is great. I loved this tweet. Someone in chat mentioned Call of Duty, and I had to bring it up. Because this was hilarious. Creative bankruptcy. Look at this image. One of these is Black Ops 7, and one of these is Black Ops 2. Look at that. That's the state of gaming in 2026. They essentially just reskinned everything. Hell, they didn't even change the number on this building. They just changed the textures around a little bit. Said, good enough. I think there's a little more detail in this one. I love that the van's still there. You have the silo in the background. But, like, when Black Ops 2 come out, how many times, how long have they been milking people here? Okay, Black Ops 2 came out in 2012. And then Black Ops 7 came out in 2025. So 13 years of evolution in gaming. This is what we've come to for the Call of Duty. That's progress. There, huh? That's Call of Duty. The bottom one is the old one? No. No, this is the new one? Wait a second. The 2012? No. No way. Is there a Call of Duty player that can verify this? Wait, the newer version looks worse? I thought this was Black Ops 7. This is Black Ops 7 on top? What? No, my mind is blown. I thought, I was looking at this and like, yep, they just recycled all the assets. Although they did improve the textures in this newer version, I do like this thing. This looks a little bit bland and stale, like these are recycled assets. This down here, at least they added a little more textures. But this is the 2012 version on bottom. Oh no. God. And this is on PS3. Dude. No way. And they got rid of the sky. Like, look at the sky. This has to be doctored. Like, you had the reflection, you had the sun, you had the clouds, you had the extra textures. Like, this is so bland. What? Oh. That is just... What are we doing? That's insane. Literally 13, 14 years ago, this is a better game that looks better than what the garbage. And this one probably takes up, it probably doesn't even have compressed assets or anything, so this probably takes up 20 times the storage for something that looks 20 times worse. Like, look, the reflections are like non-existent. Like, this looks like it was just done in Blender real fast in like a day. I just can't. I just can't. That's insanity. Absolute, pure insanity. Wow. Yeah, it probably took more money to make a copy. That is crazy. Okay, yeah, the movement and aim assist was way worse, though. Okay, well, at least something got improved, I guess. Surely there's something that you could pick that has improved in the past 13 years. Probably designed by Copilot. Oh. Oh, wow. That's crazy. Yeah, every year COD gets more expensive and worse. So, wow, who's playing? Call of Duty must just be, you have a problem at this point in time. Like, if you're still playing Call of Duty, you're the problem. Stop it. Get some help. Stop playing Call of Duty, okay? You have a major problem. That's your brother-in-law. It's fair. That's fair. Go touch some grass. Oh my. All right, we're removing the provision apps here. We're getting through it. Probably teenagers. No. At this point in time,
Yeah, well,
we know the problem.
the dude abides.
Coffee on me. Thank you. Thank you, Just Mine. Much appreciated. I will get a coffee. I do love me some coffee. Although I've switched to espresso. Gone full pinky out. And gone with more espresso shots now. For some odd reason, coffee was messing me up. So I was like, all right, I'm going to try and switch to espresso. Although, you know, you can buy a giant container of, it's the cheap espresso beans from the store. It's actually not a bad value. I think it's like $15, but you get a giant can of it. So, yeah. It's not so bad. I think I'm switching to being an espresso guy. Just because, it just is, it's better on my tummy. But yeah, I've drinking coffee forever. I honestly, whatever has caffeine in it, I'm like, yes, please. I don't really care. Espresso. Dagnabbit. Thank you for the correction. If there's an incorrect way to say something in the English language, chances are I do that. Any additives? Maybe a splash of like whole milk and honey. I try to stay away from sugars as much as I can, and try to be all natural. And I'm like, well, the bees crapped on this, so that stuff's delicious. So I'm just gonna toss honey in there instead. It's gotta be better. All right, we're saving the image. We're in the final stage. That was actually a little bit faster, I would say, than the usual MicroWin. Yeah, honey is still sugar, so it's still moderate. Everything in moderation. I just need a little bit of sweetness to it, and I just wanted to stay away from whatever's refined in the factories. So I was like, you know what? Do some organic sugar, adds a little sweetness for me. It's good enough. Heads up, TurboTax is now Windows 11 only. I mean, to be expected. Like, I've already told people Windows 10 is dying. You have to either switch to Windows 11 or Mac or Linux at this point. If you're holding out on Windows 10, your time is up. It's time to shit or get off the pot, as my dad would always say. So, yeah, what are you going to do? You going to upgrade to Windows 11? You going to move to Linux? You going to spend some money and buy a Mac? The choice is yours, but staying on Windows 10 is no longer a valid choice, as, it's not happening. Will there be a Mango WC stream? Let's do Mango WC next Monday. Next Monday's stream shall be the Mango of the WC. So, yep. Come join the Linux cult. It's just fine. It's fun. Promotional video for Linux would be, do you like trolling people? Do you like suffering? and seeing others suffer too, try Linux. It's amazing. Do you have an elitist complex? Do you like saying, I'm better than others? You should try Linux. Oh, yeah, the stream's Tuesday, Thursday. Thank you. My wife's correct. Next Tuesday, I'm going to the library on Monday because I do actually need to get some work done. I've been slacking. Sometimes I just like loading up a live stream and then just chatting, but I am cutting back the live streams to just Tuesday, Thursday. I feel like I need to get some other work done, and the best case for that is just to do it all on Monday, get everything nice and like all my admin stuff and other like programming that I want to do offline, and just really focus up, you know, go to the library, throw on my hoodie like so, and then just sit here and code in the dark, just like this. Yep. So that's going to be next Monday, actually. I will not be live streaming. So yes, Tuesday, Thursday. So next Tuesday, let's do Mango WC. Actually, Arch is really not that bad these days. The Arch installer, after you know some stuff, it's actually not too bad. The Arch wiki failed me. I don't know, you know, as a typical Arch user of many years, I think I feel obligated to say from the Arch community to those, skill issue. Back knew what was happening. Totally knew what was gonna happen. Welcome to Linux. So great. I don't know why more people don't use Linux. I mean, come on. The old skill issue comment. I don't know. I really do like the Arch wiki. I do think documentation is extremely hard, and when it comes to open source projects, most things you got to remember when it comes to Linux, almost everything's done for free. So almost everything is a contribution or just a fun project. So for that, you got to know the documentation kind of sucks everywhere. Having said that, though, the Arch wiki, I think, is some of the best documentation in the entire Linux community.
The dude abides.
True. Fat bastard, thank you for the gifted tier 1. All right, we've got our MicroWin made on our desktop. We are going to take this guy. We're going to toss it into our images directory. Let's clear out some old MicroWins. Let's see, what do we have here? MicroWin. Let's just delete all that. Wait. Yeah. All right, man, I need it. Look at all these old images I have. Like, what am I doing? Ubuntu 16. Gotta hang on to those ISOs. You never know when you might need them. Windows 10 LTSB 2015. What are we doing? What are we doing here? Like, for real. I might actually keep some of these. Just for giggles. But, anyways. Alright, we cleaned up that. Let's make sure we got MicroWin in there. There's our new MicroWin ISO. Gravy. Let's shut this bad boy down. Let's see how it looks now. Yeah. I forget, we were doing a stream where we were walking through every version of Windows from 1990 forward. Or actually, I think it's 3.11 is where we started. Alrighty, let's give it a whirl. And come on. All right. Let's delete the old version. Oh, that's when we were messing around with the Xbox gaming experience. What? What's going on with that? Also, if you ever run into Linux errors, the kind of thing I love doing these days is just taking the error, dropping it into the old chat GPT and be like, hey, what happened here? And then it's like, hey, you idiot, you ran updates and you need to reboot. Yeah, your standard Python's broken and one of your virtual specs. This means the version changed from that. So it should tell me reboot your PC, you probably did updates. On Arch, this always comes from a partial upgrade or a broken Python install. Common fixes: reinstall Python, clear bad environment variables. Yeah, why this happens? Okay, well, all that's wrong. Why it happens is you did an upgrade and you didn't reboot. That's the real issue here. So let's just give it a reboot and let's launch it again, and I bet you it'll launch just fine. Shouldn't Grok be better? Is Grok better at anything in any situation? Because anytime I've used Grok, it's like fallen flat on its face. The only thing Grok's good at is removing people's clothes or putting them in clown outfits or bikinis. You know. Or Epsteining people. That's it. That's all Grok's good for. Oh, and I think they got an actual contract for the Pentagon. So, probably a couple years away before Skynet gets activated and we're all dead. But, let's just live the good life while we can. You know what I'm saying? We're so screwed. Anyways, yeah, no, Grok sucks. GPT's mid at best. I think Gemini, actually, I would even put above GPT these days. I think Gemini's really gotten a lot better in recent updates. I still say Anthropic's Claude is my #1, though. Claude just does it better in almost every instance for me. So that's my tier list of AI. Grok is fine. Just keep an eye on him. Yeah, we just give him the nuclear clothes. We'll be fine. What's the worst that could happen? So the Pentagon wants to put people in bikinis? I mean, they work at the government. Grok's known for putting underage people in bikinis. That kind of tracks. All right, let's see if this worked for us. Let's just see. Copilot. Oh, you know what? I haven't used Copilot on code in a while now. However, I will say Copilot is the #1 in this specific thing. Can chat figure out what does Copilot do better than anything else out on the market right now? And it's amazing at it because of its positioning, and I use it almost daily for this. Let's see if chat gets it. We'll see. Should we do multiple choice for everybody? I don't know. Maybe. Let's just pop out chat here. We'll put you guys over there. I know. At one time, I was going to write my own app to do multi-streaming, and I was like, meh, StreamerBot already does it better. Something in GitHub? Maybe. GitHub reviews. Spy on you. I mean, these are all great answers. This really tells you Twitch chat is really above the rest. I tell you, you guys are amazing. Get comments coming in from damn. You guys hit it on the head. So I tell you, anytime I like do all my commits and then I'm pulling together a pull request and then I have to document said pull request, Copilot comes in and says, hey, let me look at your pull request and then suggest what should go on it. Now, normally, as a typical pro developer that I am, I would usually just put updates, update. However, with Copilot, they actually kind of look at everything I did and said, here's all your commits, here's all the stuff that's in them, and it does it with pretty decent accuracy. Not great, but good enough. And it's a lot better than what I would have put in if I wasn't using it. So thank you, Copilot, for being built into GitHub, and when I go do a PR, actually notating whatever I just did. It does a great job of that. Everything else it kind of sucks at. And I know someone said jokingly, spy on you, but it probably sucks at that too. So, I mean, yeah, it's better than the comments of mine. Like, same thing. I do bug fixes, fix some bugs, updated this function. It's just stupid stuff. It doesn't actually tell you what I did in a lot of older PRs. But the newer PRs, you'll be like, man, Titus is really stepping up his documentation game here. Nope. AI is actually surprisingly decent at documentation.
Look, I want to say, I know you know a lot of super people.
FNY Dell, thank you for joining
Thanks for thanking
the
me.
supporters over on YouTube. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. All right. Did the reboot fix our creation of our virtual machine? It would appear so. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, 1 second. I think I had a little bit of an issue. All right, this should fix it now. All right, now images. Oh, my bad. All right, here we go. Now we're good. Now we're cooking. Cooking with gas. All right, there's our MicroWin. Nothing detected. Let's do some Win 11 action. Forward. And, you know, let's just pretend we're a normal PC peasant with 16 gigs of RAM. Ugh. Ugh. Feels dirty running Windows with only 16 gigs of RAM. Maybe we do 24 gigs. Just 16 gigs I don't think's enough for Windows these days. Let's do 24 gigs. We don't want 16. Like, who does that? Ugh. 69 for the size of the drive, because that would just be the best. All right, there we go. 32 gigs is barely enough. Fair point. Fair point. All right, let's switch TPM. Actually, let's keep TPM off because I want to emulate maybe an older system here. All right, let's go 8 cores, 2 threads. We're only going to give it 16 virtual processors. And let's begin the installation. Now, we're purposely not meeting Windows 11 requirements here. The reason being is I want to see if MicroWin does adjust automatically to remove the TPM requirements of Windows 11. Yeah, we did do less than. I should have done 32 gigs. Did I type 3 threads? I did not. Chat, you're trolling me. Can't believe you guys. All right. Let's go. Did not jalopy, you troll. All right, we're gonna install on our Windows. Let's start the timer. It is 2:23 in the afternoon here. We are starting our MicroWin installation. Now, typical installs of Windows these days, officially direct from Microsoft, typically takes about an hour now because Microsoft hates you. But let's see how MicroWin does here. Yeah, MicroWin will actually work below whatever the standard is. MicroWin okay with a 24H2 ISO. Yeah, MicroWin works great on 24H2 as well. What do you think of Microsoft activation scripts? Is fine. Cube, yes. Old Mass Grave is doing God's work over there. Totally okay. I'd much rather you do that than go to some shady CD key website and spend like $20 to give somebody a recycled key. Sometimes those recycled keys are fine, but at this point in time, you either pay for it and get the official one because you might get audited and you're a business or something, or you just use an activation script at this point. I don't think there's really any in between. Going to shady key websites and buying recycled keys, nah. It ain't 2015 anymore, people. Come on, get with the times. Mass grave that. But yeah. And if you're a business, you might get audited. Definitely buy the official license. That's my official take. Or unofficial take. Official take, don't pirate anything. Pirating's bad. You should never pirate. That's my official take. Unofficial take is what I just said 5 minutes ago. But every tech reviewer is promoting buying keys from those sites using their affiliate links that they get paid 30% commission on. I don't know what to tell you. Maybe not trust those people. I don't give a shit either way. You do you. Oh, I like Tech Yes City too. I like those guys. Hey, man, at the end of the day, YouTube doesn't pay jack anymore. AdSense ain't paying the bills for any mid-sized creator or small creator. I don't hate on anybody for promoting some kind of key website. Honestly, I get it, man. They got to feed their family, and that's just the nature of YouTube these days. So, no shade, man. I love all the YouTube creators out there, and sometimes you just got to take a shitty sponsor to put food on the table. Me personally, I work another job. I do other things outside of YouTube space to make money, so I am in a privileged position of not having to take any sponsors. But just know, if you're a mid-sized creator, man, you're gonna have to take some crappy sponsors if that's all you do is YouTube. Like, YouTuber is not a valid profession anymore. You are a sponsor. You need sponsors. You got to do all this other crap. It's a whole different business game, man. The era of non-sponsored content and being able to make a full-time income is over. Except for the very select few. Maybe at the very tippity top. Your PewDiePies, Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, they still get tens of millions of subscribers and probably 1 million plus views on most of their videos, and that AdSense will still equate to a full paycheck for them. with just AdSense. But it's not the windfall that it once was. It's not enough for any mid-size or small creator anymore. So everyone's got to take sponsors.
The dude abides.
Yeah. Oh, there's an LTT NVIDIA situation. Oh, I missed that. Oh, man. Theo Joe got his start doing the parody videos. I actually met Theo Joe in real life, by the way. He's an amazing dude. Theo Joe is... You're sleeping on Theo Joe if you think he doesn't know anything. I know he got his start messing around and trolling people with, like, double your internet speed and then tapes together 2 cat cables. The guy's actually really smart. And I haven't watched much of his new content, but I have caught a video here and there of Theo Joe's. And it's pretty good, man. So, I think people throw Theo Joe some shade because of his start, but he's probably one of the more trusted content tech creators out there. I love Theo. He's a good dude, and he's great in real life too. Super down to earth. So, I think he's great. So, thank you, Tim, for the super chat. Much appreciated, man. I remember Linus saying like 10% of the revenue comes from AdSense. Yeah. And I mean, that's not surprising. That's someone with Linus getting millions and millions of views, and he's getting 10% of his AdSense. But once upon a time, go back in his channel when he first shared the revenue splits, you'll see AdSense takes up like 50% of the pie or more. So it's not that Linus started making so much more money on his merch, which he does probably make a lot more money these days off merch. But also, AdSense has really just gone down the shitter. And it's just paying almost nothing to creators anymore. So people are having to get kind of creative ways to make up that this shortage. And that's just the nature of YouTube at the moment. Oh, Theo 3G. I love Theo too. Oh, yeah, that's true. Even, Sean does coffee and Mark does movies. Yeah, Markiplier does movies now, and Jacksepticeye is doing his own coffee brand and stuff too. So they've even branched out, and most of their revenue probably comes from outside of YouTube as well now. So yeah, almost everybody's moved to different sources of revenue because a lot of the AdSense is just not what it once was, which is just, that's nature of things, and that's okay. I still think YouTube's amazing for being able to talk to everybody. Like this right here, like being able to chat with everybody in real time. It's pretty damn cool. Let's be real. Take everything else out. It's still pretty cool being able to chat with everybody in real time and say, "Hey, this is what I'm working on. What do y'all think?" And then people go, that's pretty cool. But it would be really cool if you did this. That's neat. That's just neat. I still don't see any push-ups. Yeah, we need to bring back the push-ups. I honestly like the pull-ups too. That was great. Yeah. It kind of blows my mind on some of the business practices of both YouTube and Twitch, honestly. Like Twitch has some insane... I think the people running Twitch are probably the most brain dead people in the world, because you got to remember those guys, like, think of just common business practices that you would do to cut costs. Like they promote like the Twitch app on Xbox and PlayStation, and then you got like a couple million different video streams coming through, which is an insane amount of money for just the infrastructure cost alone. To streaming to nobody, because nobody's going to watch someone without a webcam or some type of entertainment just play a game with maybe minimal voiceover work off of an Xbox or a PlayStation. So why do those allow streams coming from those apps? They're streaming to nobody. You're having to record all that live data and broadcast it to nothing. So it's not benefiting anybody. And the cost is in the millions, probably per day, that they're just burning through Amazon's money. And sure, it's a pass-through cost because AWS and everything is, you know, Twitch is owned by Amazon. Amazon hosts it all. But I don't know. It seems like a very easy thing to fix. Like, hey, if you're going to stream on Twitch, do it on a PC or have it at least pass through a PC with some effort put behind it. Because if the effort's there, then people might watch. I totally get that. But just allowing it as easy it is to stream on Twitch with nothing, I don't know. Too much accessibility, so much cost, and it just seems like a very easy thing to fix. But I don't know. Like, again, I think just Twitch is run by idiots. That's the only thing I've come to the conclusion. It's like they have absolutely zero business sense, and they don't care. So I could just sit here and rail on all these big tech corporations and how they're run, and I'm just like, this is dumb. I think if anybody used just half of their brain, they could figure out better ways of doing this. But here we are. CTT Linux course would be great. Actually, I got something for you. Why MicroWin loads up here. It looks like the install's about 10 minutes now, by the way. The linuxbook.com. This is written by yours truly. Just go to the linuxbook.com. There's no sign up. There's no pay me money. You just go here, and I just put anything that I learn in Linux right here. Boom. It's a full book, free. Why Linux? Breaks down all the distributions for you, the types of distributions, what comes from them, the difference between rolling and stable releases, how they're modularly set up, what makes up a distribution, tips for where you're at personally in your journey, the official links and sets, and then it breaks down even more granularly what makes up a Linux distribution, so then you can pick what you like out of it. You know, break down each one of these. If there's a video that represents like the display renderers, or hey, here's my light DM configuration, you can click on that and it'll take you.
So I wanted to start this out with my actual current greeter. This
actually is a light DM configuration that I did, and it kind of shows you how that's done. So it's like, here's what it is, and if that didn't make sense, here's a video. So that's what my idea is, to try and build this out to always have video links to go with the text. So not only can you just read it and learn it, but if you read it and you're like, okay, I get what you're saying, but I don't quite understand it, then you can click the video and then see it in action and go, okay, I get it now. And then you can kind of go from there. So then it goes into bootloaders. Then we got bootloaders. I got to add another one. There's a new kid on the block, and I haven't really messed with. We need to do a stream on that. Then we got terminal commands, like just navigating terminal, what each command does, the different things with them. Do I even go into TLDR? All right. It's 13 minutes to the desktop for our Windows. For MicroWin. So 13 minutes is not bad. Although, let's see. Did it do the driver installs? Did not. Let's see what we have for processes. Stock. So I would still use WinUtil on top of this. And there's even a spot to auto run it based on your configuration. That was that JSON import on MicroWin at the very bottom field. We'll have to test that out sometime too. But yes, this looks great. This was a great test for our MicroWin. Is it forward or forward? I probably got it wrong. Did I? No, I got it right. Probably someone in chat corrected me at some point in time. Teal Deer is underrated. Essential on Linux. You totally Teal Deer. This is great. But anyways, yeah, if you're interested in something in Linux, I tried to, anytime I like work on something, like I had problems with my audio configuration, and I try and kind of notate it and like fine tune this out. And you can see the last time I changed this specific document. And you can go, okay, when was this made? I was really on a tear, I think, in September of 2025 working on this. And you can kind of see where anything gets changed. And that way, the big thing that happens in Linux, a lot of times you start to look at documentation in Linux, but it's like 4 or 5 years old. And a lot of times some of that has changed or it's no longer valid, the knowledge base. So you have to kind of change and keep things up to date. So that's why every single page of this Linux book as well has a last change section on it. So then you can always see when the last change was. And that's by design. Anyways, kind of shows you like checking compatibility, how to install certain things, certain Linux programs, and alternatives for those that want like Office and productivity. What are you going to use? You know, Microsoft Office isn't on here. Well, you have LibreOffice. I don't know why Firefox isn't there, and we need to remove that. Nextcloud and OnlyOffice. OnlyOffice is probably my recommendation from those three from the Office suite. But just all those things, and then like setting up the perfect environment. What I envision for the perfect environment for most people, that takes several years to get there. And, you know, depends on what you want out of your system and also what hardware you have, you know, and your tastes. And then finding out all those things, and then you set it up how you like it. And that's the beauty of Linux. Everything's customizable. And that is my recommendations. Thoughts on Windows bootlegs like Classic 11, Project Luna? I mean, you know, I don't want to shoot down anybody's passion project, but they'll never be mainstream. And frankly, even if they got big enough, Microsoft would shut them down. What are you playing these days, Chris? Age of Empires 4 still. I'm back on an Age of Empires 4 kick. Although I was on Arc Raiders for a long time. I was really, really loving Arc Raiders for a good bit there. So for probably about a month, I was doing a bunch of Arc Raiders. But like I got all my workshops upgraded and kind of bounced around, did a lot of questing, and then a little bit of PvP. But that was about it. And then I was like, okay, I've done enough brain rot over here. Let's move. I feel like my mind gets worked a lot more with like an Age of Empires setup. So that's why I like Age of Empires for my game, because I almost feel like it forces you to strategically do stuff, but also you have to multitask and constantly work on like your economy and other things of the RTS side of things. And after I'm done with it, I'm like, ooh, wow, I feel energized. So instead of like drooling on myself going, oh, that was fun, I feel like, wow, all right, what's next? And that's why I play Age of Empires 4. Like, it's just a staple in my gaming rotation. And Peanut, oh god, yeah, Peanut still falls with me in my feed. Damn burnt Peanut, man. God bless his soul, he's annoyingly funny. It is such brain rot. I'm like, fine, I'll just watch 2 clips, maybe 3. Oh damn, that was funny. No, goop. No, shut it down, move on. Damn it, he's funny. He's definitely entertaining. I can't say he's not. I was just like, all right. How do I explain to my friends my favorite streamer is a Peanut? Dude, he is pulling in so many views. I think I've never seen anybody that viral and that on all the time. Like, he'll do an 8 to 12 hour stream sometimes, and I'm like, man, for being fueled with Big Macs and soda, this guy is incredibly sharp. I'm impressed by the stamina of this figurative peanut with a terrible diet. Damn, is he funny. All right, sorry. We were coming back into Windows. And now that the brain rot has entered my brain hole, I can't even remember what were we doing. Did YouTube shut me down? What happened with YouTube? Come on, YouTube. All right, there we go. No? All right. All right, let's go. Have you talked about the honey scandal? I have not. Not surprising, you know. If something seems too good to be true, it probably is. With everything in life. Let's see. He hosted on localhost. Does it have ads? How did you pay for the domain? Oh, yeah, the linuxbook.com. Do I tell my dirty secret here? Yes, I do. All right. I host it through a static site generator using Cloudflare Pages. Cloudflare Pages has a very generous free plan. So you can host something that gets literal terabytes of data of usage through Cloudflare Pages. And you don't have to pay a dime. But shh, don't tell anybody this because, God, what's a good clickbait title for that? Web hosts will hate me for this one dirty little secret. Yeah. Everyone's most web host domains and stuff. It's all just pass through cost. They don't host shit. They just put a little front GUI on the Cloudflare interface and then called it good. So, anyways, just go straight to the horse's mouth, which is Cloudflare. Sign up for Cloudflare Pages. Learn how to use static sites because who's using WordPress in 2026? Dinosaurs. People about to lose their jobs. That's who. If you don't know static site generators, well, you better start learning how to fill out unemployment forms at the local government office because you have a very, very dark, bleak future, my friend. WordPress is going away. So anyways, learn static sites, learn how to interface with Netlify or Cloudflare Pages. There's just so many different hosts, but anybody that knows anything in the space is using these types of tools, and they're so performant and so much better than anything else from a traditional standpoint. Jekyll, Hugo, also amazing. I personally like Hugo. There's a lot of new kids on the block that many people would say are even better than Hugo for, the React Andes. I know a lot of artistic people like React-based stuff. I know like Next.js, a lot of people are moving from that to what's the new kid on the block? It's Tan something rather. Astro's also, one of the really popular. Yeah, Tan Stack is another one. Yeah, there's just so many guys. Learn them because dynamic. The whole. It's going away. Like the whole WordPress, man, that was 10 years ago. Evolve. Learn a new skill. Otherwise, you're going to be left in the past. I couldn't imagine hosting or using or maintaining a WordPress site in 2026. You are literally on borrowed time, my friend. Learn a new skill. Get good because you will be obsoleted very, 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 very soon. And if you know these new, they're not even that new anymore. Just get going. I'm telling you. Have you tried Helium browser? No, I need to. I have switched and it's going great. I've heard great things about Helium. I need to try it. Need to try it for sure. Oh, that's right. I remember now what we were doing. I heard burnt peanut. My brain just went out the window. And all right, WinUtil. Let's get that MicroWin merged. I think that's the big thing I wanted to knock out today, and we tested it out. Coding Wonders did a phenomenal job, as always. Let's get this approved. And squash and merge. Nice. Alrighty, guys. I think that's gravy. So we've got that. Should we build a pre-release? And we'll try that out. So then if you want to try this out on your personal system, you could do a win dev on the end of your workflow and try out the new MicroWin improvements, along with, I think we have a bunch of just bug fixes and other stuff. I know Gabby's been working on cleaning up a lot of code on the back end. I also have put in time. Gabby did a huge release to the documentation, and then yesterday I spent several hours on the documentation myself, kind of clearing up some things, properly labeling things, fixing broken links. So if you go to winutil.christitus.com, really trying to make the documentation really well over here. So you have your developer documentation that tries to go into, hey, what's behind each one, what kind of registry changes, what that looks like, where it's at. The user guides are for more user-based stuff, like, hey, what's the application installation look like? We also have a quick started guide as well. And it kind of goes through all the different methods of launching it, from like an elevated PowerShell or terminal, what those launch commands look like, typical things that can happen, and trying to build this out a little bit better, of like frequently asked questions, known issues, and then just having all that in and getting these kind of really tidied up a lot. Big shout out to Calum as well. He was the one that originally found this theme and kind of did the scaffolding for us, and then it's just kind of filling in and cleaning up and just making everything look good with the documentation of WinUtil, because that's a project is only as strong as its documentation. So I know I've been slacking on the documentation a lot. All right, so we have our pre-release here. You got the big MicroWin update from Coding Wonders. You can see a bunch of cleanup here. We got some bump actions from Dependabot, some cleanup from Gabby, and then our assets. So if you ever want to run this, we can do just win dev. Let me show that real fast. Just go your PowerShell with admin, terminal with admin, whatever you got. And then we're just going to go IRM, and instead of -win, it's a win dev. So it looks like this. It'll pull in that new release that we just made on GitHub. And it should be January 15th as of the release date. If you get about, and you can see right there, 26/01/15. That's our release. And if you want to still run the stable release, let's say that you do find a bug. One, let us know if there is a bug in that release before we make it into the stable branch. You'll see that the current stable branch is from last week, which is January 8th, I believe. Yep, it would be 26.018 for that release. And that is gravy. Do we have anything else, guys? Did I miss anything on today's stream? Stream beats detected. I love stream beats. Amazing. Thank you, Harris Elder. You've done God's work on that. Even Chris can get shit done. Vibe coding. That tells us how good the AI helps with it. Oh my gosh. Nice. No longer age restricted by the YouTube gods. I think it was the content filter I put through our router. I was locking things down on the router last night, and I think I locked my wife out of the more adult part of YouTube. She could watch her gameplay of Resident Evil. It got age restricted. Said she wasn't old enough. It's too funny. Just remember, if you use MicroWin or do an in-place upgrade, oh yeah, you should never do an in-place upgrade. So MicroWin is meant to be fresh systems, and updates will work just fine. I don't ever recommend ever doing an in-place upgrade. Always back up your data, nuke and pave. And I say that for every operating system. Like, never in-place upgrade. Like, Windows is terrible with upgrades. It always has been. There's never been a point in history when Windows did an upgrade properly. So, always fresh install. Fresh install, fresh install, fresh install. So important. Yeah. Yeah, it's happening. You said you did an in-place upgrade. Don't ever do an in-place upgrade. Like, we should... Let's see. Let's shut this guy down. Let's test. I don't think we may not have an update for that version of MicroWin. Let's test, though. We might have an update. Actually, I think I used an older ISO, so we should have updates. Let's test it. Yes, that was it. Yeah. So this is a fresh update. So anytime I use MicroWin, it's a fresh update. So the big thing here, let's I'm gonna go ahead and just change some of my settings here. I don't want to be notified every time. That's just super annoying. Can't launch PowerShell. Well, that's a problem. Yeah, all right. That did work. So let's go PowerShell, but this time let's go Control-Shift-Enter, launch it as admin. So anytime you want to launch something elevated that you're running in your CMD, pull up the run menu, Control-Shift-Enter will go ahead and update it and run it with admin privileges. So really important, but a really cool little shortcut. ChrisTitus.com. Let's pipe IEX. Let's fix some of this stuff. And then we'll run our updates. So we'll get this. Tweaks. Let's just go standard tweaks. I'm going to go disable hibernation as well. Bing search, numlock on startup, verbose messages, no recommendations, no snap window, assist, that. Mouse accelerations or sticky keys, show some hidden files. Search button on taskbar, nope. Task view, center button, and widgets button I don't think works. We're working on redoing that. Cross device resume, also off. All right, great. We're going to go add and activate ultimate power plan. That's good. Run tweaks. And let's spin this through the motions. Let's also clear up this taskbar. Hide that. Task view is off. Perfect. Get rid of that. That. We'll reboot after this. Also, since we're actually using this, let's go ahead and install our what do we got? Win 11 Vert IO drivers exe. I think it's Fedora's random. Well, there's Proxmox. I think Fedora hosts the KVM drivers, the guest drivers. Yeah, there it is. Oh, that's the ISO. I think actually. Let's copy the link. There we go. Let's grab the guest tools exe. Stop that. Let's open this file just to have the guest tools. You won't need this for most people. Won't be running in QEMU like me. I just want it to run a little faster. Also, let's just check to see how many processors we have too. Uh, 16 processors, so we're good there. All right, open this guest tools, install those. That'll fix our screen resolution. Oh, thank you. Yeah, wingit install redhat.virt.io. Yes. That would have been the better way to do it. Agreed. Thank you, sir. I gotta get that programmed in. It's like when I first started Linux and I wasn't using like sudo bang bang for like rerunning something when you forgot to do it as a elevated user. You're like, oh, why didn't I do that? God bless it. Darn it. Let's cancel that. We already did it. Gravy. Cool. Let's give it a reboot. Then we'll try our updates. Yeah, I think chat yelled at me for, oh, I don't know. Peter's been here for a long time. How many years did you guys yell at me for to use sudo bang bang to rerun a sudo command? I want to say it was at least 2 or 3 years. Yeah, half a year to 2 years. Yeah, it was around 2 years, and I finally was like, okay, I got it programmed in. It took me a while. All right, now. Chat said MicroWin was having problems with Windows Update. Let's check for updates. And I think we should get some updates here. If we look at our WinVer, we are on an older version here, so there should be some updates. And he said the problem he was having was he would download the updates, install them, and then reboot, and then he'd have to download and install them again, and it was just a perpetual loop of problems. So we're going to just double check that. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's because he did an in-place upgrade. In-place updates are just absolutely disastrous for Windows. It's just not designed for an in-place update or upgrade. They shouldn't have called it that. It's very misleading, and Microsoft Windows is just not designed to ever be upgraded or updated in a substantial fashion. Its only install should ever be a fresh install on Windows. I can't emphasize this enough. I've seen many years of problems, and anytime someone brings a computer and go, man, Windows just acted real funky. I know you're really good with Windows and you can always fix it. I'm like, I can, but guess what? I can slap a band-aid on this and probably get you going. But the problem is you're going to keep having problems because it's been upgraded multiple times through multiple different editions. It's time to nuke and pave, man. It's time to delete everything, start from scratch, and then bring your data back in. I know people hate reinstalling their programs, but this is how this operating system's designed, and if you want it to run properly, this is what you gotta do. There is no ifs, ands, buts, or anything about it. In-place upgrades are crap. Big system updates, absolute crap. Nuke and pave. Those are your options. Windows updates should just understand that you do a clean install once a year. Yeah, once or twice, maybe once every 2 years if you don't use your system for a whole bunch of stuff. You might be able to get away with it. Oh God, the windows.old folder. That's how you always know. That's how you always know. Will MicroWin ever have a new option to choose optional features or install or uninstall from the ISO? No. I think that's like NT Lite, Tiny11 Builder, I think has some options like that. But the idea about MicroWin is just to have a sane starting spot that will get you going. It's not really meant to be highly customizable. I just want it to take a standard Windows install and then make it functional. That's it. Just make it as it should be from Microsoft. Just like Windows 7 came with nothing on the desktop, with no extra apps, no extra bloat in your start menu, not recommending you anything, not putting any advertisements in there, not adding a bunch of like OneDrive and other crap. Just want the base operating system to be normal, right? So the idea for MicroWin is just be like, hey, if I wasn't on drugs or an insane person, what would Windows be distributed as? And that's what MicroWin is. It's a non-drug-induced distribution of Windows that is made for everybody. That's it. There's no AI slop. There's no extra packages that get installed. Yeah, all it's meant to be is just base Windows with nothing extra installed and nothing extra removed. All it is just as Windows as it should be. That's it. No extra options. I'm super adamant. That's my vision, is just to have a basic Windows that doesn't break anything. Now, having said that, I did notice something here with MicroWin. A bug. Well, it's not doing it now. But when I launched PowerShell the first time, terminal as admin, it didn't launch PowerShell, and I had to launch it from the run command. That might have been something with my ISO. It looks like it's fine now. All Windows users are Windows addicts. There may be some drugs involved. Yeah, it's fair. That's a fair statement. The drug is Valorant. For some people, it's Battlefield. For others, it's League of Legends. For others, it might be Apex Legends, or what? Apex. What is that one game? Apex Legends? No, that's not it. Apex League. It's Apex something. I don't know. It's a shooter. I remember playing it for a second. It's Legends. Okay, cool. Yeah, but yeah, it could be a variety of things. So, like I said, as much as I might throw some shade Windows users' way, it's okay. I understand. I'm just here to help. At the end of the day, I might look down on someone for their choices, but at the same token, I will help them at every chance I get. But drugs are bad. You shouldn't do drugs. Don't eat drugs, kids. Don't eat drugs. Oh, Fortnite too. Yeah, that's right. Fortnite does not play on Linux either. It's funny. Any love for Windows 10 LTFC IoT? It's one of my favorite versions of Windows. I haven't tried MicroWin on LTFC IoT, mainly because why would you? What does LTFC IoT have out of the box that it shouldn't? 2022 didn't come packaged with any AI bloat. I guess let's see what they come up with. Nice. Yeah, you know, DWM is still the best. Still the GOAT of all window management. There's no debating that in my mind. It has been amazing. As PowerShell is cross-platform, would it be able to make MicroWin work on Linux? Cube, this is a great question. I get asked this all the time. The answer is no, because MicroWin relies on the Windows ADK being installed, which we use a tool out of there called OSC-DIMG to make the ISO image. That does not work on Linux. You also have DISM, which mounts and changes the packages that are installed on Windows with the DISM tool, which also does not work on Linux. So there's no way to make MicroWin work on Linux because of all the internal Windows packages that must be installed. Most from the ADK, but some that's actually baked into every Windows install, specifically DISM. So that is the long and short of it
with it. What is DWM? DWM is my window manager. So that's this guy up here. You see these numbers and other things. So mine's a little bit modified, but it's how I kind of flip between screens and pull up stuff. So when I launch terminals, I pull up different workspaces. This is all DWM. Could DISM be run through Wine? Absolutely not. There's way too much going on with DISM and Windows ADK that Wine is just not capable of handling. Wine is not an emulator. Wine is a compatibility layer, and it's meant mainly for gaming. So Wine does a fantastic job of converting DirectX calls to Vulkan or DXVK and integrating with that and changing some of the things so you can use Windows programs inside of Linux. But at the end of the day, it is not Windows, nor do Windows programs work properly in it a lot of times. So Wine is an incomplete solution for most applications in Windows. It's a fallacy that many new Linux users have that, hey, all my applications that I use in Windows, I can just run through Wine. That will never work. That will never be a thing. That is pie in the sky. And the person telling you that it will work is just simply lying to you. It's someone that doesn't understand the complexities of Windows. They don't understand how a lot of these third-party programs work. All they know is, hey, I got my World of Warcraft working through Wine. Wine's amazing. It works for everybody. Skill issue. And that's what most people in the Linux community will tell you. But as a professional that has managed many, many businesses and done so much in Linux, Linux is great for a lot of things, but Wine can't solve it all, man. And the more complex and more integrated into Windows environment, the worse it will work with Wine. All right, we did our updates. It is time to restart, and then we'll rerun the updates and see what we have. Is it going to reinstall all the updates, or will it work? I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to work. Yeah, it's a miracle how good we can game on Linux. Big shout out to Code Weavers that made Wine possible in mainstream, and Steam and Valve for taking what they've built with Wine and making Proton that goes on top of it, that brings it to the everyday man and woman out there. It's amazing what they've accomplished. And to have the compatibility we have in Linux is nothing short of a miracle. But at the same time, to say we're ever going to get 100% compatibility across all games and all applications from Windows to Linux, that's no. That's a bridge too far. We can get a lot, but not everything. All right, it's time to run them updates again. Download and install all. Oh, I think we canceled this one update. I don't think I let it finish. Let's see. They did change the update structure. So this is a major update because you can see security update, and then it says the major version, and then 7623, and we are on 6584. So this is a pretty large update. Let's let that cook in the background, shall we? Error information. Class not registered. Removing features. Removing features. Simple TCP. Ooh. Let's see. Where'd that come from, fat bastard? Let's check your messages here. WN. I got that from Michael, and I'm running it right now. Okay. Why not PowerShell for Windows Update? you can actually do updates through PowerShell. I actually did a video on that, Cube. It's fine. It doesn't really speed anything up. It's still interfacing and using the standard Windows Update services, so it's fine. Oh, MicroWin. Alrighty. So it was trying to move, removing feature simple TCP. Class not registered. Were you seeing that during the creation of the ISO, fat bastard? Would you recommend installing CachyOS or Nobara or other distro? CachyOS is amazing. Love them. I think it's great for a noob coming to Linux. Just don't install too much. But if you're really heavily into gaming, Nobara might be a better choice. If you are not technically adept or don't really want to mess around that much with your Linux install or configure anything, I would actually recommend Bazzite. Bazzite's a fantastic out-of-the-box, just kind of works. It's hard to break, much harder to break than Cachy or Nobara. So Bazzite is great for a person that just kind of wants to toss something. A good example of how I use Bazzite is I use it on like a home theater PC that I might not turn on, but maybe once every couple months. It's fantastic for that because in our main system, I can just power that up, hit updates, let it reboot. Bazzite I know is going to work every time. Boom. Off to the races, back to gaming, got the full screen setup and everything. Bazzite's fantastic for home theater PCing or people that just mainly want to use gaming on their main device and maybe some minor web browsing and those types of things. So that would be my recommendation. Usually I'm like Cachy or Bazzite. Nobara can be good though if you really want to tinker and you're a heavy gamer. I think Nobara would be a great distro because that's run by Glorious Eggroll. Yeah, Bazzite's great and stable, and I think that's the thing about it. And honestly, any distro can be stable, guys. I think that's a big thing to say. It just depends on what you're doing to your system. For a new person, I find they like to install anything and everything, and that's where you get in trouble. So Cachy is easier to break for a new user because they just install way too much stuff. They don't understand the difference between repo-based or directly from the repository and built using the AUR. And a lot of times they just go wild, absolutely crazy on installing packages through the AUR, and then their system breaks spectacularly, and it's awful. So don't be that person. So if you feel like you're gonna just install a bunch of crap, Bazzite. Bazzite will keep you from screwing yourself. Breaking is how they learn. True, but if they don't want to learn, it's best to give them something that's hard to break. So it just depends on the person. If you want to really tinker and learn, Cachy, and you're a power user, Cachy. If that's a great starting spot. But if you're like, I just kind of want my crap to work and I don't really want to worry about too much, Bazzite. What distro would you recommend for cybersecurity? I mean, Kali and Parrot are fine. I know I crap on them all the time, but they're filled with apps I will never use. Yeah. I think what you do is you learn what you like from Kali and Parrot. Like, you're probably going to want the Burp Suite, Metasploit, maybe a few other programs as well in there, depending on what kind of cybersecurity you're doing. Obviously, all the port scan software, which most Burp Suite has a pretty robust version of that. And then once you got those things, just install standard Debian. Or if you like Arch and you want more up-to-date packages, Arch is fine as well. And then just install the Burp Suite and the other things that you need on top of it. At the end of the day, Linux is Linux. I just don't care. Like, I can get anything I want to get done in any version of any distribution. It's just a matter of configuration. So don't ever think one distro is more superior than another. It's just a different starting spot. It's a different opinionated taste. It's just different file managers, or maybe even a different bootloader, or a different package manager, so the syntax is a little bit different on what you install. But at the end of the day, any package one can install, it can be installed on another, especially if you're just building from source. It depends. So testing a VM is my advice. It's great advice. Fantastic advice. Agree with that 1000%. Yeah. God, these updates take forever. Do you recommend activating Secure Boot on Cache? No, nobody should ever activate Secure Boot on any Linux distribution, period. Let me repeat that. You might be watching some kids online that are like, hey, make sure you update your system, make sure you install Secure Boot, because that's what I learned in school. All right, let me break it down for you guys. One, updates can be a bad thing. They can be a good thing, but they can also be a bad thing. So the traditional advice is always update, right? Well, it depends. Is it a Tuesday or a Wednesday and you're a Windows user? You shouldn't update. You're about to get shit on because all Microsoft releases their patches on every Tuesday. It's actually called Patch Tuesday. So that's why we never update on Tuesday or Wednesday. It's like going to a restaurant on a Monday. You never go to a restaurant on a Monday because all the crap left over from the weekend, you're going to be eating old food. So you're paying extra to eat a bunch of old food they're going to throw out in the trash anyway. So don't eat a restaurant on Monday. Don't patch your Windows system on a Tuesday. It's just advice everyone should know. So that's the first thing. But Secure Boot specifically, why never install Secure Boot on a Linux install? Well, usually you use Linux to get away from Microsoft. Did you know every single Secure Boot instance is authorized by Microsoft? So Microsoft can effectively brick your Linux install even though you never even installed Windows because you use Secure Boot. I'm not making this shit up. Yeah. That Secure Boot checks with Microsoft servers on every system by default. Every Linux distribution that has Secure Boot support, they do what's called a shim, and that shim is authorized by Microsoft. Secure Boot is a scam. Yeah, so that's why you should never do Secure Boot. It literally is. So let me show you that so you just don't think I'm just making shit up here. Secure Boot, server, Linux, Microsoft. Secure Boot is not a Microsoft scam. No. Let's see. I want to say. Let's see if we can break into here. I want to say Secure Boot. Let's see, official wiki. It's kind of telling that this is the first thing it says. UFU Secure Boot is not an attempt from Microsoft to lock Linux out of the PC market here. Why is that the first thing they say? Secure Boot is a security measure to protect against malware during early system boot. Microsoft's act as a certificate authority for Secure Boot. This is what I'm talking about. They will sign programs on behalf of other trusted organizations so the programs will also run. There are certain identified requirements that organizations have to meet here, and the code has to be audited for safety, but are not too difficult to achieve. Secure Boot is not meant to lock users out of controlling their own systems. Users can enroll extra keys into the system, allowing them to sign programs for their own systems. Many secure enabled systems allow users to remove the platform provided keys altogether, forcing the firmware to use only trusted user signed binaries. So while you can reconfigure Secure Boot to use a different certificate authority other than Microsoft, the default security certificate authority is Microsoft. So Microsoft can still make your computer not boot if they don't want to. But you do have the ability to remove them as a certificate authority, put another one in, and then redo all your keys according to that authority. But by defaults, Microsoft does it. Frankly, I've tried to do this. It's hard. It sucks. It's a pain in the ass. Is it possible? Yes. Is it possible to do without Microsoft? Yes. Will you do it? Absolutely not. There's no chance. Did I get it done finally, eventually? No. I sat there and tinkered around with it for probably 8 hours or something stupid. And I was just like, this is not worth it. What am I doing? What am I doing? Screw this. We're just getting rid of Secure Boot and then moving in, and it's fine. So that's the long and the short of it, and why I'm kind of anti-Secure Boot. Can it protect you from malware from entering your system at boot? Yeah, and honestly, Secure Boot's probably a good thing for Windows users. It's not like you're getting away from Microsoft anyways. So yes, it will protect you for that. But for Linux users, I can't get it set up without Microsoft in that loop. And until I do, and maybe it's just a skill issue with me, but until I do, I just can never authorize that. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I want to see less overhead happening at the boot level. I feel like Secure Boot adds a level of complexity at the boot level that shouldn't even exist. The idea that we have like AMD and Intel systems with these entire, basically baby operating systems that run before your system loads its primary operating system, I think is a huge issue. Like, I want to see Intel ME completely gone, and like AMD's counterpart, I think is like PSP, also gone, and something like CoreBoot put in. Like CoreBoot, once you've actually flashed your firmware and gotten rid of your legacy BIOS, which I don't even know if you can do this with modern systems anymore. They've pretty much locked them down pretty damn well. But if you've ever seen a CoreBoot system boot, you're going to immediately go, what the F is happening at the boot of my new system? There's a lot going on there, and most users have no idea. So while I'm trashing Secure Boot here, there's a lot bigger problems than Secure Boot that we're not talking about. The firmware that happens on modern systems is absolutely atrocious. Talking about Intel Management Engine, AMD's PSP, they're all very, very bad. And there's a reason. Your system should boot in 3 seconds, right? But all of a sudden, like, why does that BIOS screen take 5 to 10 seconds to go through? It's because of all the crap that's getting loaded in the background before it even hits anything, your bootloader, your operating system. Why does it take so long to get there? This is a new development, well, new-ish, 10, 15 years, but there's no reason for it to be that big. And that's because of all the extra crap that gets loaded. And if you've ever seen a CoreBoot system work, which I'm going to show real fast, I think there's probably a YouTube video about it. I'm sure someone's done it in Linux. Let's go CoreBoot. Fast. Yeah. So here's CoreBoot. This is at a trade show, apparently. So here's this one. It just almost immediate, while this one still loads. It's insane. And this is actually a terrible video. Whatever happened to Wolfgang, man? I loved him. He was great. Did he show it? Wolfgang made some great videos back in the day. I haven't seen him in my feed in forever. The Sea of Hacks versus CoreBoot. Oh, come on. Somebody's got to just give me a video. Booting with Libre boot on an SSD. ThinkPad. Okay, here. Luke Smith probably has something.
Okay, so before you see two beautiful ThinkPad computers.
All right, here we go.
Okay, there. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. So nothing yet. We got about 5 seconds. Yep. Here comes the ThinkPad screen. Hello, ThinkPad. And you should have Sys Linux running. We're at 15 seconds or so. Screen's going to readjust in a second as it's loading all the firmware and such. Here we go. And I have it so it's going to automatically log in. We're at 30 seconds right now. Alright, it's logging in. And the desktop's going to pop up. Okay, that's about 40 seconds time. And I'm going to turn on, I'm going to tell it to bring up the browser just to see how long that takes. So
I probably would have stopped it around the
up in a second.
when as soon as it hit the bootloader.
Okay, there we go. There's our browser. So, you know, around 55 seconds, so under a minute. That's pretty good boot time. You know, I was pretty content. I mean, you know, it was better than using Ubuntu for all those years. And when you start these both at once. Okay.
So I think this is the CoreBoot one right here.
So you'll see that LibreBoot comes up way faster.
Yeah.
It's already loaded.
So it's like 3 seconds to the boot. 2 or 3 seconds.
Grub menu has already
So it's 14 or 15 seconds on a traditional computer, where CoreBoot's about 2 or 3 seconds. So it's a little misleading with the browser comparison and the OS load. But yeah, you got the idea. So yeah, I mean, there's just so much with modern systems. I'm just like, ugh. It's almost like earlier in the stream when we showed the difference between the Call of Duties, like the Call of Duty Black Ops 2 versus Call of Duty Black Ops 7. Yeah, some things have gotten actually worse and slower as time has gone on in personal computing, and BIOS load times way too long. So yeah, 2 or 3 seconds versus 15 seconds with like a CoreBoot system or a Libre boot system, which Libre boot I believe is a fork of CoreBoot that shows like certain systems that can be flashed. I installed Libre boot on an old ThinkPad, but old ThinkPads are essentially the only thing that are supported by it. I think that's the problem, is like nothing is like, what are you going to install with CoreBoot? And what is the bloat slowing it down? Let me show you that. Windows Management Engine. Let's go Wiki. So Windows Intelligent Management System is an autonomous subsystem that is incorporated in virtually all Intel chips since 2008. It is located at the platform control hub on modern motherboards. Intel Management Engine always runs as long as the motherboard is receiving power. Even when the computer is turned off, if there's power to the motherboard, it will run. So it's always there. So there's actually what's called off-band remote access that can be enabled, and you can actually do this. There's also some other things that Good talks about, like researchers concerning Intel management as a backdoor. This is actually, there's been many different instances of it. If you have an Intel system and you want to take advantage of this, there's actually something called processor with vPro. I don't know if they've removed this in recent years or it's changed, but I used to do out-of-band access, and I didn't want to pay like extra vendors, or you've probably even seen a lot of YouTubers talk about like KVMs and stuff that control out-of-band access. We can actually do it directly with the system. Let's see, what was that? I think it was FOSS software with vPro access and updates or Intel ME. I can't remember what it was. I'll know it once I see it. Mesh Commander, that's it. Mesh Central, I think, was the older version that's deprecated now. Let's see, Mesh Commander. 4 months ago. Perfect. So if you do want to do like out-of-band access, like you don't have access to the system or you need to power it up remotely, you could actually use Mesh Commander. I believe this is like a Python script. I think you can just do a pip install Mesh Commander. Oh, I'm sorry, npm node script. My bad. And then you access it through here. So you could do Mesh Commander and then change everything in your system and then remote in using a web browser and turn your whole system on without it being on. I don't know how this doesn't freak everybody out, but you know, you should know that's actually baked into your system. And that's why a lot of people look into CoreBoot or LibreBoot, because you can strip out all that Intel ME. But this is just like certain features of ME. There's a lot of proprietary blobs and things that we don't understand about the Intel management engine that is simple, locked behind gated keys that nobody really knows. Same could be said for AMD. I think it's PSP. Am I saying it wrong? Let me get AMD PSP wiki as well. If you're unfamiliar, platform security processor. This is equivalent part of the Intel processor with the Intel management engine. This is just AMD's version of it. People, like, again, people are worried about backdoors and security concerns for this, but they say it's for security or execution environments. Like, they added all this crap in that nobody asked for. It makes the system slower. They boot slower. But on top of that, we now are having to worry about these backdoors that can be accessed even with your system off, as long as it has internet access and a power cable hooked up to it. Not even on necessarily. And people still access it. So, like, what are you going to do? I guess move out in the country, poop in a bucket, get rid of all your cell phones. Again, you should know that these things do happen. They are in the background. We don't really know a ton about them other than they shouldn't be there, but they are. Yeah, we're really in the middle of the great enshittification. Agreed. So, like, a lot of older systems pre this and Intel ME and PSP have bloated up over the years too. These things haven't gotten smaller, but actually heavier. And that's why it takes so long to get through your BIOS screen before your bootloader, before your operating system, before Secure Boot, which is what released this entire tirade, which I don't even know where I'm at on this tirade now. We're just going down an entire rabbit hole. Anyways, I thought, yeah. One day I tried to install Secure Boot in Gentoo. It was so hard and confusing that I resigned. It's that bad. And that's kind of what I had too. My problem is, it's always been, even with people, electronics and everything, if it's so good, why is it so complicated? It should just work. And if it didn't exist and you had a better experience, why does it exist? You know, it's like, take an influencer or a content creator, for instance. They should make the complex simple, not the simple complex. The same can be said about technology. My job is to make the complex simple, not the other way around. So, again, all the rationale I've heard from most of the people, even like the security influencers, it falls apart as soon as I start looking at it, because I'm like, guys, I understand what you've been told, but as a guy that's done this for decades now, why the F does this even exist? Like, if it didn't exist, there was none of these systems, we would be in a better spot than if they did exist. Like, Full stop. That's where I kind of lose that simple train of thought. It's hard to get past that very basic question. And they're going to be like, well, it stops malware at boot time. And I'm like, okay, but how is the malware accessing that EFI partition to load at boot time? That should never happen. That EFI partition should be locked. You shouldn't be accessing it. And not, hey, let's install a bunch of shit before your computer boots that we don't know how it works. It's just a black box that we have to trust. And then you want us to install a whole bunch of secure boot keys that goes through the default Microsoft certificate authority, so my computer can boot, because that's going to block malware. Just think about this critically. That's all I'm saying. When I think about it critically, it makes no effing sense. Because I know what I put on my system, and I know what those partitions should look like, and I know they're not going to be touched. And if they do get touched, I'll just delete the whole damn partition and recreate it. It's not that hard to recreate a boot partition for me. So for me, these systems are extremely I don't get it. I just don't get it. So that's what I'm thinking. So anyways, window manager, DWM, man, for sure, 100%. I pooped in a bucket. It wasn't fun. What do you think, Bob? Like a 3 out of 10? You will own nothing and you will subscribe. I know. But I mean, I that's why I was like, let's just not use that stuff. If it doesn't make sense to me, I'm not going to use it. And if I can, I'll rip it out. You know, I look forward to the day CoreBoot maybe evolves, and hopefully we can remove that stuff out. I think there's ways around it. I hope to do that. And, you know, maybe if I can get a more modern system that I get Intel and management and system engine ripped out of, if I'm doing Intel, or get rid of AMD's PSP or disable it, I think that's great. Don't get me started about the TPM chips. We didn't even cover that. Got any tips for Void Linux? I haven't used Void Linux, but I hear good things. If you don't like systemd, then Void is a great first stop. What do you think about a mandatory age verification giving your ID to use a VPN? Yeah, I don't like VPNs. I think there's other better ways of navigating the internet. So, you know, I don't care. Whatever. There's always another way. I think proxies are probably a little bit better. Depending on what you're trying to do, download, look at. VPNs, I feel like a lot of times are like honeypots. You know, I'm going full tinfoil hat here. Watch out, Rob Braxman. I'm coming for you, Rob. There's a new sheriff in town of crazy. It's this guy right here. The VPNs, why not like them? So a VPN essentially is just accessing another site, and then launching and filtering all your traffic through it, right? That's essentially what a VPN does. You can set up your own VPN server, like a secondary site, and the VPN, and filter all your traffic through there. The problem I have with most VPNs is there's very few of them that aren't owned by giant conglomerates. So when you look at like Nord, Express, a lot of the big names in the space, I think it's, what's the major company? They bought out private internet access. They brought out a whole bunch of different VPNs. Let's see. Oh, we finally finished our update, by the way. Let's reboot that. Private internet access conglomerate. London Trust Media was formed under that. Cape Technologies. So Cape Technologies is a UK-based cybersecurity software company. Cape owns VPN services and cyber including CyberGhost, Private Internet Access, ZenMate, ExpressVPN, and Intego. I'm noticing a pattern with most VPN companies that giant conglomerates, these multi-billion, sometimes trillion-dollar companies, are sucking up all these VPNs, and then they're filtering them through one or two sites. And they're saying, hey, everything's no log. I don't know about you, but I just don't trust big companies, man. And I feel like that's not good. And I think a lot of the smaller VPNs, maybe they, I feel like there's a pass-through cost here, and they're probably looking at it. I just think that they're double dipping a lot of times, where they're like, hey, we're going to give you private access so you can torrent to your heart's content. But I know you're not going to turn that VPN off, and then we can use all that data that we've collected from you and sell it to third parties and then claim we don't. So we'll charge you money to do this, and we'll make money by you using this. And that's kind of how I think of VPNs. I get it. But I mean, turn that crap off after you finish downloading your favorite movie or whatever, you know? I don't use VPNs, or if I use VPNs, it's stuff I've established with my own sites. I just don't think this is a valid business model from a privacy or security standpoint. I think it's abused. And I think there's a lot of misinformation out there about VPNs and why I don't like them at all. I don't trust them. I trust myself. And if I don't want my internet provider to see what I'm doing, well, I think you should obfuscate that in a different fashion than just establishing it through another site and then launching it from there. I think there's better ways to go about that. That's all I'm saying. All right. Anyway, sorry. God bless it. Just crazy web of stuff today. This past hour has been full tinfoil hat mode, and I apologize. I don't like talking about this stuff. That's why I never make videos about it. Anywho, I think we got that. I use VS Code for the most part, is my jam. I use NeoVim from time to time. It's just a one-off file, but really big, complex projects, I still rock VS Code for most stuff. The old Microsoft Visual Studio, it's a classic. And yeah, I wonder what happens with Cloudflare. They've gone down so much this past year. But all right, guys, I'm out of here. I think it's time to go because I need some food, some recharge in here. My brain is a little bit mush, and all I'm talking about is conspiracy theories at this point. I like to educate, not do anything but. I like to just have fun, make my system as cool as possible, and I don't like talking about all this other privacy security nonsense. I think it's just a lost cause, and sometimes I just get distracted. So I apologize for that crazy rant. All right, y'all. Have a great one. See y'all in the next one. Deuces.